Okay, participants are starting to join. There's Michael. Hello, Michael. All right. We're at 28 attendees, total 35 participants. Okay, commissioners, are you guys ready to get started? All right. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Gore, and I'm chair of ANC 34G. Welcome to our first meeting of year 2023. With this meeting, we bring a host of new commissioners, and we'll start off by doing commissioner introductions so you can meet the new participants. I would encourage the commissioners to rename yourself to include your single member district if you can. That way everyone will know which district you represent. I'll start off. My name is Lisa Gore. I'm previous chair of the ANC. We're getting ready to have elections, so we'll see. I represent single member district 01, which is Hawthorne and Barnaby Woods. My district covers Oregon Avenue, Western Avenue, past Pinehurst Circle, up to Beach Street, that whole peninsula. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a packed agenda. We'll try to be as efficient as possible. And thank you for your participation in our meeting. Peter Gosselin, you want to start next?
Sure, I'm not new. I'm Peter Gosselin. I represent single member district 06, which is the west side of Connecticut between the Chevy Chase Circle and Military back to 42nd Street. And on the east side of Connecticut, a narrow peninsula to Nevada between Military and Legation. Welcome, everybody. This is not only our first meeting of the year, but the first meeting of a new term, 2023-24, hence all of the new commissioners. And I welcome them and I welcome you.
Zach?
Yes, thanks. My name is Zach Ferguson. I'm the new commissioner for single member district 07. Slightly different boundaries this year. It's Military Road at the north, Reno on the west, and more or less Chevy Chase Parkway on the east. Really excited to start the term. Thanks to the last two commissioners, Chaz Cadwell and Chris Fromboludi, were very generous with their time, giving me some insight on what I'm in store for longstanding issues. So thanks to them and looking forward to a good term.
Peter Lynch?
Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Lynch, and I represent SMD 05, which is on Connecticut Avenue from the Circle down to basically Military and Legation, and then over to Broad Branch. I'm happy to be here, happy to serve, and thank you all.
Bruce?
I'm Bruce Sherman, the new commissioner for single member district 02, bordered by Military Road on the south, Oregon Avenue on the east, Utah, 27th Street, Utah on the west, up to Tennyson. And then as you go down Tennyson to 31st, you go up, and Lisa, your and my districts are divided there by 31st. I'm on the east side, and if you cut over then down Tennyson over to Oregon, we also have Chatsworth and we have Oregon Knolls in single member district 02. I'm thrilled to be the new commissioner. We had a very energetic campaign. I thank my predecessor, John Higgins, for his service. And I very much look forward to representing all voices and all people in our single member district. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
I'm returning Commissioner Michael Zeldin, 3G04. The biggest part of my district is Lafayette Elementary, and we run from Broad Branch all the way up to Upton and bounded by Utah and Western as well.
All right. And just before we get started, I know we have quite a few people on the line. I wanted to go over meeting procedures just to make sure everyone know if hopefully the chat function is functioning and you can make your comments in the chat. If you have a specific question for the commission, it's best to put that in a Q&A feature so that we can see that directly and address it. We follow an agenda with proposed times, and we try to follow that strictly. This is normally a long meeting. The first meeting of the year is normally a little bit long, so please bear with us if we are not following the timeline as prescribed, because we have a lot of new commissioners. If we have community comments, community members will be able to speak on issues, roughly 2 to 3 minutes per each community member. We ask that if we do establish that, you keep your comments within that time frame. And then we also ask that everyone be polite, cordial, and respectful in the meeting while speaking, and also in the chat. And with that, do we have, I know we have a few changes to the agenda, commissioners. Do you guys have anything? One thing I want to change, and I've marked, is on the second item, the fee for the security fund is $50 as opposed to $25. Also want to add ANC debit card discussion under commission business. And Peter, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I'd like to propose a change of time. I'd like to discuss the new ZDD zoning design and development candidates immediately after announcements. So if we stick to schedule, that's about 7:30. I ask this only because we have quite a number of candidates, and asking them to hang on until what it says on the agenda is 8:40, but probably means 9:15 seems like a heavy ask. So I'd like to change the agenda to bring that issue, which is now at, I think, 8:40, up to immediately after the announcements.
Okay. Community announcements?
Community announcements, yeah.
Yeah.
But both commissioner and community announcements.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? All those in favor of the adopted proposed changes, show by raising your hand. Okay. 6-0. And just to let the public know, we do have a question in the Q&A about single member district 03. And I forgot to announce that Jim Nash is the commissioner over that area, and he's covering Randy's former territory or old territory. He is on travel status, so he will not be with us tonight, but he definitely will be here in the future. Okay, so I am now going to turn the agenda over to Randy Speck, former commissioner, to conduct the ANC elections. And Randy has a slate of candidates that was circulated to the ANC. Randy, you want to go on?
Sure. The ANC statute requires that every year the ANC has to elect new officers. They can elect to continue officers in their current roles, or they can elect new officers. But it has to be done every year in January. So that's the purpose of this election. The statute also specifies that an independent person will conduct the election. So I'm volunteering in that position. I understand that there has been a slate that has been proposed. The slate would be the chair, Lisa Gore, the vice chair, Peter Goslin, the secretary, Jim Nash, and finally treasurer, Zach Ferguson. Is there a motion to adopt that slate?
I move.
And a second?
I'll
Michael?
second.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of adopting this slate, raise your hand, please. It's adopted by a vote of 6-0. Okay, Lisa, I will turn it back over to you as the newly elected chair now.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Condolences, Lisa.
There's another quick question in the Q&A, and I tried to answer this live, but I think I hit the wrong button. The agenda can be found on the ANC website. So if you go to anc3g.com, go to the meeting information page. Peter, can you post it in the chat?
Yeah, I will.
That meeting information page has pretty much all the documents that are pertinent to this particular meeting, including the draft agenda. So just keep in mind that draft. At this point, Michael, go on.
Just want to reinforce something, Lisa, there, which is going forward. So we've got a good number of community members on. We are going to rely on the ANC webpage as a primary communication vehicle until the Office of ANC provides us a better mechanism to do that. And so if anyone wants to keep abreast of what we're doing, the best first step, besides hearing from individual commissioners as they reach out through their individual lists and et cetera, is to go to our website, which has been something that we've been working on very hard over the past 2 years to improve and make more accessible.
Mhm. Thank you for bringing that up, Michael. And just to let folks know, we post on that website. It could be daily, like there are several posts today. So when information comes in regarding a topic or a commissioner wants to post something, we post it immediately. We've really done a really excellent job on the meeting information page. I don't know an ANC in this city that has a page such as we have developed for our meeting information. And that is to capture all of our major documents that we are proposing, including presentations. Once we put our draft agenda up there, then we'll put the final agenda, we'll add the minutes, finalized resolutions. So it's designed to be a one-stop shop. And we're going to keep developing our website to make sure it's user-friendly for you guys. Peter?
Yeah, just very quickly, again, this has been a recurring problem. My chat only allows me to put things in that go to the host and panelists, which doesn't help people in the audience. So I have posted in the Q&A a link under my name that links you to the meeting page for this meeting, which has both the agenda and relevant documents that we'll be discussing.
And I'll work on, at some point, when someone else is discussing, I'll work on that chat to make sure we can all.
Lisa, I just fixed it.
Oh, great. Thank you. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, there it is. Everyone. All right, I'll post it on that too.
Randy to the rescue. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over now to Zach Ferguson, our newly elected treasurer, to go over the ANC 2023 Security Fund Resolution and Authorization.
Yes, we have a resolution to authorize this ANC to pay $50 to the Advisory Neighborhood Commission security fee. This is a fee from actually the DC auditor. This is something, commissions do at the beginning of every year. This is going to last for the year 2023. We use the language they want in our resolution. I think this has been circulated to all the commissioners. So unless we have, questions about the security fee or discussion, I move to approve the written resolution.
I second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. 6-0, it passes. Thank you, Zach. Okay. Adoption of the meeting schedule for next year. So I went and did the meeting schedule. I'll read out the dates, but the ANC meets on the 2nd and 4th Monday of each year. We do not meet on federal holidays, DC holidays. There are a couple of dates where we're only going to have one meeting because of a holiday, so I'll read that out. And then August is our recess. So for the 2023 meeting schedule, the meeting dates are tonight, January 9th and the 23rd, February 13th and the 27th, March 13th and the 27th, April 24th. We're not meeting on April 10th because that's Easter Monday, which is a religious holiday to some. May 8th and the 22nd, June 12th and the 26th, July 10th and the 24th. No meetings in August because August is our recess month. September 11th and the 25th, October 23rd. We're not meeting on the 9th because that's Indigenous Peoples Day, Columbus Day. November 13th and the 27th, December 11th, and we're not meeting on the 25th. Obviously, that's Christmas Day. So with that, I so move that we approve the meeting schedule as stated.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, 6-0. Thank you. Okay, so commissioner announcements. Do any commissioners have any announcements? Peter?
Yeah, hold on. I'm just going to note down times. I have 3 announcements. First, I want to remind people of the meeting, the public forum the ANC is sponsoring with the Chevy Chase Community Association tomorrow from 6:30 to 8 p.m. I believe on our website is the link to register for that meeting. We originally proposed it to be in person at the community center. We just weren't able to get the technology together to do a hybrid meeting, and there were a number of people who wanted to be there but couldn't be there because of fears about COVID. This focuses on the aim of this session is to try to help the community understand the city's surplus and disposition law practices, how it handles selling or leasing public property. And this is a crucial issue in terms of how we do the redevelopment of the community center library. We have a number of speakers from the Office of the Attorney General, from the Office of Council Member Robert White, who has proposed to overhaul the surplus and disposition law, and so his staff knows it well, to discuss this issue. All of this is preparatory to a meeting on Thursday, January 12th. And I just say, I know, if you're attending this meeting and tomorrow, you're going to be tempted not to attend the Thursday meeting. It is crucially important, whatever your views on this subject, it is crucially important that we have a good turnout at that meeting. The city, as things now stand, although this may change, seems intent on driving forward from this surplus hearing Thursday and proposing to surplus a portion of the site, the community center library site, which we will discuss later. So it's very important. This January 12th meeting is from 6:30 to 8. It's hybrid. The in-person portion of it will be at the Chevy Chase Presbyterian Church at 1 Chevy Chase Circle. So I encourage, and just a few other details about that, and email exchanges with Jill Stucker, who is the city's point person on this. He tells me that there will be a moderator, him. There will not be a presentation other than the barest of bones one by the city. People will be able to testify whether they're in person or online, but there will be a time limit. He did not tell me what. And there will be limited to no opportunity for exchange between residents. So that's this. And finally, unrelated to any of this, I just want to point out to people that on December 20th, since our last meeting, the National Park Service has posted a wayside exhibit near, essentially next to the Presbyterian Church, looking out on the Chevy Chase Circle and Fountain, that tries to give some history and context to the fact that the name on that fountain is Francis Newlands. Newlands was a U.S. senator, a developer, the inheritor of the Comstock lode, silver fortune lode, and a racist. And it tries to give some context to this. I'll just say that the National Park Service takes responsibility for the text. You'll discover that the text puts the use of questions to a maximum use. I mean, it puts questions to a maximum use. It's essentially asks a bunch of questions. If you have reactions to the Wayside exhibit, I will provide in the chat a link to the people at the National Park Service who you can contact. And those are my announcements.
I just have a few. We recently got, and this is mainly for the Knollwood community, and SMD 1 and 2. They are still working on Bingham Drive. They sent us an email stating from January 8th through the 13th, the contractor team will still be performing some on-site landscaping activities. They're continuing to wait for temperatures to consistently reach a level so that they can complete the final restoration along Bingham Drive. They'll continue to provide updates. It's important to note that Bingham Drive road closure remains in effect during the entire roadway reconstruction phase of the project. The pedestrian path proximate to the drive or roadway will be open for use during the length of the roadway restoration work, with potential for short duration localized detours to be installed as needed. The point of contact is Tawana Haynes. I'll put her information in the chat. If you have any questions, you could reach out to her directly. I wanted to make sure everyone knows that, as you know, we started a Murray Project Task Force. Their first meeting is going to be on the 18th at 7 p.m. Please stay tuned for the website and social media announcements for that. We'll make sure we put the Zoom link. I believe that first meeting is open. Put that Zoom link up so that the public knows that it's occurring and can join if you want to. And let's see. We also received today the ANC from Northwest Opportunity Partners CDC, a alternative proposal to the surplus and disposition of land on a civic core. We have posted that proposal on our website, so it's posted in the new information section and the section for the civic core, which I believe is the second link under task force issues, but please take a look at that if you want to. I believe Peter, then Bruce.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, Peter Lynch.
Yeah, Peter Lynch, then Bruce. And
Hey
Peter
everybody,
Goss-
this will be very quick. I just want to shout out a hyper-local SMD 05 charity. It's called Goods for Good. I remember going door to door and seeing just tons of stuff on their porch, and they do a lot of good work getting stuff to people that need it. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I hope you check them out and help them out. And I would love to hear more of the charitable organizations or projects that constituents have, so that we can help broadcast and help those. So check out Goods for Good in the chat and participate with them if you can. Thank you.
Bruce?
Yeah, let me just ride Peter's announcement for just very briefly, kind of spontaneously. Goods for Good is resident at the Episcopal Center for Children directly across the street from our house on Nebraska Avenue. So we're donors to them, we support them, and we appreciate Peter's note. I've got two announcements concerning Single Member District 02. The first is that our first all single member district town hall will take place on January 26th at St. John's College High School. I'm very pleased to say that St. John's has generously made available meeting space for the duration of my term so that I can meet in person with residents of Single Member District 02. We will be doing a variety of meetings there, large and small. This first meeting is an inaugural meeting to have everybody from the district come together and express what's on their minds. It'll be an open listening session for me to hear from people directly. The second announcement has to do with building my email distribution list. I'm going to be launching my own email newsletters and alerts shortly. But to make that functional, I need people's email addresses. You all on the commission understand the challenge that entails. I've put my contact information in the chat box, my email now at the ANC. So please shoot me your email. I'll put you on the list so that we can all stay in touch. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. And that's a great plug for commissioners. I know I've been building up my email list and newsletters. Most single member district commissioners do have an email list, so please reach out to them and try to get on them. The ANC also has an email list. So if you go onto our website, at the bottom of the page in the right-hand corner, there's a link for newsletter sign up. So please do that. Michael Zeldin.
The one thing I would ask of my fellow commissioners is that as you build out individual single member district email lists, if you would be so kind as to give them to Lisa so that they can be added to our ANC email list, because there are precious few issues that are single member district alone issues. Most of the issues that we face are ANC wide issues. And so it's important not to balkanize ourselves into single member district emailing lists on issues that affect the whole ANC. And so we as a commissioner are advantaged by having a master list that if we're addressing issues like the redevelopment of the community center or the Military Road School, Lafayette cohort for pre-K, all those issues, we can be sending out surveys or whatever it is to the broadest group of people. If you're talking about potholes and other things that are truly within one single member district, that's fine. But we need to make sure that we're communicating as an ANC to our community, because that's part of our obligations as commissioners, to make sure that we represent our entire ANC and not just our single member districts.
Great point. Any other commissioner announcements? Zach?
I'll just say, also, I'm a new commissioner. If you're a neighbor we haven't met, please reach out. I've got a website, 3G07. I'll put my contact information in the chat. If you have any ideas, concerns about our community, please reach out. Love to meet you, hear from you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I know we have some new mokers out there. I believe a new.
You might want to tell the new commissioners what a moker is. That'll.
They don't know what the moker is.
They aren't they the ones that live under the bridge? Or is that-
Oh, so they're the representative of the mayor's office that are tied to your wards. We previously had Amir in Ward 3, and also our Ward 4 moker is new as well. So if you are out there, I know also Eric Goulet wants to say something to the community. If we have representatives from council offices, please raise your hand so I can elevate you and allow you to speak and introduce yourself.
And to be clear, it's Mayor's Office of Community Relations, MOCR.
Thank
Moker.
you.
But they do live under bridges.
I think I got everyone promoted. I don't know if Eric Goulet is still here. Eric, if you wanted to be promoted. Yep, great. Okay, I don't know who joined first. We'll start with Lee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lee Catherine Miles. I am the Chief of Staff for Ward 3 Council Member Matthew Fruman. And while I'm a nearly 25-year resident of Ward 3, it's my first time attending this ANC's meeting, so it's a pleasure to meet all of the commissioners. Congratulations on your new term. I look forward to working with each of you. I just want to let the community know that the council member's office is open, and he looks forward to engaging with residents on issues of importance to the ward and the city more broadly, as well as providing supportive constituent services. And I'm going to put in the chat in just a moment some ways you can learn about his work on behalf of Ward 3 or contact the office. But we are available, so please do reach out. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Theodore?
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Good.
That's great. That's great. I am Theo Wren, your Ward 3 mocha. I also have my partner on, Matthew Barkley. We are both your Ward 3 mochers from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. And I haven't been in a 3G meeting at all since Amir has been my partner. So I'm introducing myself, and also I'm introducing my partner, Matthew Barkley, which just started. So he is your newest Ward 3 mocher, and we will split the ward, and he will have 3G and I will have other parts of the ward, but we still handle the ward together. So Matt, you could take over from here, buddy.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations on your election. Nice to meet everybody in person. Matthew Barclay, new Ward 3 mocher. I'll be replacing Amir. I'll put my email and phone number in the chat. I hope to talk to all of you this week at some point and or meet in person. I hope to live up to Amir, and give me a call anytime you are in need.
Thank you.
Lisa, could I just interrupt here and just say to all of the people making community announcements, as we go forward, I desperately hope I'm not going to be the secretary anymore, although I'm going to have to do it for the next 2 meetings. The rules that we play by here are that if you want your announcements during a meeting to appear in our minutes, you need to give me text after you make the announcement. And once Jim Nash takes over the job, I hope you'll do the same for him. Copying your words off of a videotape takes a lot of time, and it would be just as well if you provided them yourself. And I'm at peter.gosselin@anc.dc.gov. So for what it's worth.
Noted.
Okay. Joanna?
Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Blotner. I am Legislative Director for Councilmember Louis George. I am filling in tonight for my colleague, Jim Lewis, who is usually here with you all as one of our Ward 4 constituent services representatives. I'm also joined by my new colleague, first day on the job, Barbara Rogers, who is our new Deputy Chief of Staff for Community Engagement or Director of Community Engagement. She will also be taking over some of the ANC meetings going forward. So she looks forward to joining you all very soon as a former ANC commissioner herself. Couple quick announcements from our office. As you all probably know, council started just last week. We are back in session. For anybody who reached out to our office over break to talk about collection of leaves, please know we escalated all of those concerns and delays. That was first order of business when we were back in the office last week. So we know the Department of Public Works is behind on this, but we are escalating cases as they come in. Please feel free to send anything our way to any of our constituent services representatives. Jim Lewis is traditionally our 3-4G point person though. Also, just a friendly heads up, the council member was appointed to chair the new committee on facilities and family services for the council for this council period. That includes oversight of the Department of General Services, which helps to oversee maintenance of our school buildings and our parks and rec facilities. We know there have been issues at Lafayette and at the community center. My boss has been on tours of the facilities and knows all the issues very well. So we are excited to be taking the lead, both in terms of serving our ward and our community, but entire city as well, and making sure that we are getting our facilities well taken care of, as well as on the family services side of our portfolio with CFSA and our disabilities portfolio. Very quick heads up that we'll be having a Listen as We Climb listening tour coming back to the community this winter, a little bit later this winter. Please look to your emails for information about when those dates will be happening. This is an opportunity for us to hear from the community what's going on, what your priorities are, where the issues are, that we can help escalate for oversight purposes as the council heads into oversight in the next couple weeks, as well as heading into budget in a couple months, as well as to provide updates on kind of what we're up to, what we've been doing, and how we've been serving the community. If you are not already on our email listserv, I'm going to drop our email sign up into the chat for everybody to get our weekly updates. Those come out every Friday evening, so check your inbox for that. If you are a Ward 3 resident, you are still welcome to sign up. Happy to provide information about everything going on in the community, and tons of information will be coming out soon again about oversight and budget, which are so important, and we really encourage everybody to come and sign up to testify. It is so helpful when the community engages. If you have any questions for me, I'm here as a stand-in, and will do my best to provide any information back to my colleagues or answer what I can on the spot. Thanks.
Thanks, Joanna. Barbara, did you want to weigh in?
Hi, I am Barbara Rogers, I was actually typing the information in the chat, but I am the new Director of Community Engagement. I look forward to working with all of you all, and congratulations on all the new appointments tonight. I will put my email and phone number in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric?
For having me on. It looks like a very long agenda, so I'll try to keep it short here tonight. Just first of all, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Eric Goulet, the State Board of Ed rep for Ward 3 here. I'm so excited to be able to meet you all tonight. And then to anyone who's listening to the meeting, feel free to get in touch with me by email. I put my email in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. And we're going to set up a series of working groups. So if you want to participate in any of those, send me an email. I'll get you information, and we're going to start a newsletter. We're picking up where Ruth left off. She did a early January newsletter, so we're going to have one too, probably the end of January, early February, so you don't miss a month in terms of the news. Just what I think are really the top priorities that I'd like to focus on and discuss with people tonight, and then things I think we need to take action on right away. The first thing is the State Board of Ed role is really kind of split between the formal and then the advocacy role that it plays. In the formal role, we're going to be considering the new social studies standards coming up shortly. So if anyone has comments on those, they're up on OSSI's website. Feel free to send me an email. I'd love to hear from you on what you think is particularly good in them, or things that you think maybe need to be adjusted. So the draft regs, or the draft, not regs, but the draft standards have been posted, and love to hear from you on what do you think we can do differently in the final version of them. So that's the first official business. On the advocacy role, we are right now, people don't know it, but in the heat of the budget, because the mayor's starting her work on the budget right now. And this is the best time to get ideas into her. As I see it, there's two big issues that we need to move on this year with the budget. The first one is that a lot of our schools relied upon one-time funding to get through the last budget cycle, and that's going to be going away. So making sure that the mayor knows that it's a priority that we replace that funding with local dollars, preferably recurring local dollars in this upcoming budget cycle, because otherwise there's a lot of schools that are going to lose teachers potentially or special ed subjects, and we can't have that happen. So we've got to make sure that that funding gets maintained in this budget cycle. And it's going to be interesting because there's kind of two competing versions. The mayor's got her budget model and the council approved legislation from the council chairman. How those two things are going to act is anybody's guess right now, I think. But the most important thing we got to make sure is that the school budgets themselves, our local school budgets, are not adversely impacted in this budget cycle. So that's going to be important. I think then the second thing that we've got to keep an eye on is our capital funding for schools. I mean, the most important issue that parents in Ward 3 identified was solving school overcrowding. It was literally the second biggest issue in each community, and for parents with school-age kids, by far the biggest challenge that they identified. Right now, we're making a concerted push to get the Whittle School. It's a 2,400 seat campus right on Van Ness's, right on Van Ness in Connecticut. area there. And if we can get that building, that's going to go a long way to solving the overcrowding issues we see at Deal and at Jackson Reed right now. And it could also then create partnership opportunities with UDC. So we've gotten 3 ANCs already to pass resolutions of support for the mayor to pursue Whittle, ANC 3B, 3C, and 3D. And I would really be grateful to get to work with the commissioners of this ANC 3/4G to get to work on a similar resolution for the upcoming cycle. And then finally, I'd like to work on the overcrowding issues we see in our elementary schools. We need a new elementary school somewhere probably around the Friendship Heights area, because right now we are the only ward that has no access to pre-K 3, and about half of our students who are 4-year-olds don't have access to pre-K 4. So this is something that's really urgent. The city talks a lot about trying to add new housing to Ward 3, but that's simply going to be infeasible if we don't invest in needed infrastructure in our schools. And with the boundary study coming up, this is the year that's got to get done in the budget. So I'm excited to work with everybody. I don't want to take any more time. I just thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And I see there's hands up. So if that's questions, I'm glad to take those.
Those are questions. Bruce, then Peter. I don't know which one. Raise your hand first.
I think Peter was first. Lisa.
Okay, Peter.
Thank you all very much. Eric, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Folks that are out there that are interested in education issues, as a day job, I'm an English teacher and my nieces are in DCPS. So if anybody is interested in tackling education issues and being closer to some of those issues, please reach out, get in touch. I'll put my email in the chat, and hopefully we can strategize around helping our schools both here and all over the city. Thank you, everybody.
Bruce.
Yeah, very quickly, Eric, thanks so much. I second Peter's thanks for joining us, and Lisa's. Just to note, Lafayette Elementary, as Commissioner Zeldin noted earlier, is in his district. However, in my single member district, there are many new families that have come to this area because of Lafayette. The overcrowding issue matters immensely to them. What I'd like to do, and I've already pinged you on email, so I've got your email. You already have an email in your inbox from me. I'd like to chat with you about, and with Commissioner Zeldin, any others, regarding any immediate steps that we could take. And I have some thoughts on that, but we can talk whenever we can set a time. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Eric, my comment to you, I don't know if you know that this ANC had a task force on racism. And one of the groups or subcommittees that the task force had was education and mental health. And they actually made some recommendations regarding curriculum in social studies. So that their work passed over to our Racial and Social Equity Standing Committee. And I had planned to let them know about the social studies standards because it is directly one of the recommendations from our task force on racism. So hopefully we'll get a comment from them on that. And what ANCs did you say passed the Whittle resolution? Was it 3C, 3B, and who else?
In 3D.
3D. That's what I had. I just want to make
We
sure.
covered the early ones in the alphabet. We have a new 3A, but we couldn't get them yet. So we'd love to, we'd love to get all 7 just to make a statement to the mayor about the importance of this in the upcoming budget.
Okay. So I just encourage, if any commissioners are really interested in that, reach out to those ANCs, get that resolution and start working from there. That's a good, there's no harm in copying a resolution that's already out and approved. It's a really quick way to do it. You can circulate it amongst the commissioners and we can see if that's something we'd want to approve.
And Lisa, I'd be glad, we've got drafts of it from the other commissions. I'd be glad to share it with you.
That's what you said.
Yep, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Declan, last but not least.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, commissioners and community members, and Happy New Year to all. I'll also keep it pretty quick in the interest of time. For those I don't know, my name is Declan, and I work in Chairman Mendelson's office as part of his constituent services team. I'll put all of my contact info in the chat as soon as I'm done, so please feel free to reach out anytime if there are questions or comments. I'm happy to pass those on to the chairman. Or if there's something our constituent services team can help with, I'm happy to pass that to the correct person as well. As others have already said, the council just began its new session, and the first committee of the whole meeting is going to be on Tuesday, January 17th. Actually, well, the next committee of the whole meeting is on Tuesday, the 17th. I'm looking forward to joining your future ANC meetings to give you updates on legislation from the council and to talk about the chairman's priorities. For tonight, I mostly wanted to join in to introduce myself and to give out my contact info. If there are questions, I'm happy to take them, but thank you again for having me this evening.
Thank you. Michael?
Hey, Declan, was it you and I who spoke last year about inspection station issues?
Yes, we did speak.
Yeah, so if you could follow up with me on that. It's been a couple of months and you guys have been radio silent. That's not as a criticism. We had Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's and stuff, but now that we're in the new term, if we could follow up on that, that would be really appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. And I actually spoke with one of our legislative staff about the issue just before Christmas. So let me go back and find my notes on it, and I will connect with you, give you a call probably tomorrow at some point.
Whenever, but I just want to not drop the ball from my end.
Of course.
Thanks.
Okay. That's all the community announcements. Thank you, Declan.
Thanks.
Okay, Peter, we'll turn the next portion of the agenda over to you on the Zoning Design Development Committee.
Okay. I think the right way to handle this is, let me just say as an aside, something that really I should have said when we were organizing for the year, and that is our practice, and I think a correct practice has been that the commissioner for each district, when it is a primary, when the center of gravity for an issue lies in that person's district, leads on that subject. I hope, without having bylaw issues in front of us, I hope that all the commissioners will recognize that and respect the right of each of us to lead on issues where the center of gravity is in our district. This has to do with actually a committee and an issue and a lot of issues that cross a lot of boundaries, particularly Peter Lynch's district and mine. I think the right way to handle this very quickly is to bring the commission up to speed on where we are on the Zoning Design and Development Standing Committee. Take up and discuss and pass some minor adjustments to the resolutions we've already passed. And then that will pave the way for talking with the candidates for the additional positions that the adjustments will make possible. Very quickly, this is a committee that has been in wicked slow gestation. A lot of that is my fault. It's a real problem because the issues that it should be helping the commission deal with are right upon us now. The committee exists, but kind of in stasis with 5 members. Those members were, until very recently, Randy Speck, Connie Chang, both of whom are now former commissioners, myself, Jamie Tillman, an architect, and Renee Turner Inman. We realized Randy is staying on the committee, but Connie has resigned her position on the committee. Peter Lynch, whose district is going to be impacted by some of the really important issues coming up, has joined as co-chair of the commission, as a committee, and we have agreed among ourselves that we really need a lot of firepower and so we want to expand the committee from 5. Well, there was a maximum in what we've passed so far of 7 members. We want to expand it to 9. So what I'd like to do is put a resolution noticing you that Peter Lynch has joined me as co-chair of the committee and expanding the number of members to 9 on the floor. Get that discussed and out of the way first, and then introduce you to the candidates for the now 4 public positions that are 4 additional public positions that are going to be open, presuming we pass the adjusting resolution. So I have circulated to the commissioners a draft of the adjusting. Actually, I think we just posted on. Maybe I failed to circulate it. It's on our website in the materials for this meeting, and I hope you've had a look at it. It's I think non-controversial. It just simply expands from 7 to 9, the maximum number we can have in the committee, and leaves open the possibility, and this is a particular concern to Peter L. I think we're going to start calling each other Peter G and Peter L. So Peter L, my co-chair, the possibility of further expansion in the future. Do I have a second to put that on the floor?
A second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, any questions or any discussion of this adjusting resolution? Without any, I'd like to put it to a vote. All in favor of the resolution? Okay, I think that's 6-0. So let me just turn to the next portion of this. We have a tremendous group of people who have volunteered to work to become members of this committee and to work on these issues. I'm going to read out their names. I think every one of them is here tonight. My understanding of what we're doing is I don't have the right, and Peter Lynch doesn't have the right to simply appoint people. The commission, this is an advisory commission to a committee to the ANC, and you all have the right to appoint. I think what I will introduce the people, and maybe we should bring them all up. If you have questions for them, ask them. I think all of them are stellar. At the end of the questions, I think I will propose, or Peter and I will propose a slate, but we have to see how the questions go. If you have no questions, that's fine too. But we certainly are prepared to bring these up. Let me just. And Lisa, you decide how you want to do this, whether you want to bring all up in advance, or the candidates in alphabetical order are Jordan Benderly, Rasheen Carbon, Ron Eichner, James Feldman, Agnieszka Priestman, I hope I got that right, Jonathan Guy, Connor McCarthy, and Suzanne Slater. You have all received, I think this I did circulate this to all of you. You have received resumes or bios for all of them. Is there a desire on the part of commissioners to question the candidates?
I don't have any questions for the candidates.
Okay. Well then,
Thank you. Here, just read us your slate.
So I think I propose that we vote to make Rasheen Carbon, Jim Feldman, Connor McCarthy, and Suzanne Slater members of the Zoning, Design and Development Standing Committee.
Can you read those names again?
Rasheen Carbon, last name Carbin. James Feldman, Connor McCarthy, and Suzanne Slater. Do I have a second for that slate? No, thanks. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say too, to point out that, wow, the people in this community have just incredible backgrounds, expertise, talent, wisdom, experience in the neighborhood there wasn't one person on this list that wasn't qualified to help us out. And in fact, as Peter has mentioned before, we very likely will need help from everybody on this list at some point or another. And on top of that, we sincerely hope for the help of the entire community through this process, because we're talking about the community center and the library, which are vital to us all. So thanks again for everybody who has put their name forth and volunteered to do this work. We are all unpaid. You on the committee, of course, would be unpaid. It is sometimes thankless work, but very important work. And again, we really appreciate you all.
Lisa, I guess the only other thing we might want to do is let, if they want, the candidates to say something if they want to say something. I agree with Peter L. that all of these people are qualified. Peter L. raised the issue of balance between gender of the and whether Agnieszka should be the one of the four. She has an extraordinary resume. My argument against is that the result would be that a third of the standing committee would be from his SMD, and we try to balance among SMDs. And so that's, I think, the argument for why we ought to pick Jim Feldman, who, as it turns out, is from my SMD. But I think we have 3, 5, 6, and 7 represented among the candidates, or current. No, we have 1, 3, 5, 6, 7 represented with the 9 people.
Right.
So, do any of the people? And let me again emphasize what Peter L. just said. We're going to need your help. We're going to need every one of you to help us. There are going to be a torrent of issues involving development that are going to come our way in the next immediate period. So please don't be offended by the slate we're talking about. So if we can move on, I suggest we just vote on the slate, and I'm happy to name them again, but are people ready to vote?
Yep, I call the question.
Okay, all in favor of the slate as proposed? Michael?
Lisa, I've got a question before we vote or while we're voting. I just noticed, and this is your prerogative, I just noticed some comments in the chat. If they're worth acknowledging now, want to go to those now or
hold it
or not?
Yep, we can do that. I will allow that. So just for everybody, just make sure if we have discussion, we do it before the question is called, because that automatically calls for the vote. Which comments did you want to?
Well, I don't have any insight into people's points of view on this, but there were some. You might just open it to anyone who wishes to be engaged, and they can signal if they want to come in. I just don't want to ignore anyone who's expressing a point of view in the chat. I don't want to overlook them.
So let's see.
If there's any community member that wants to make a comment on the nominees, please raise your hand. We have, okay. I'm gonna promote you all. Keep your hand up, please. And just parliamentary wise, Peter, we're in discussion.
Okay.
And we'll start with Jerry, then Jim, then Andrea. Jerry, you there? You're promoted. Jerry, you're on mute. Oh no, Jerry. Hey, there you go.
Okay. You caught me in the middle of eating dinner and having a glass of wine here. So Basically, what I said was both Jonathan Guy and Ron Eichner, I think, have very important points of view. They have historical knowledge of a lot of these things. Both of them, they're differing points of view, but both of them were on the small area plan task force that the ANC had a few years ago. They've been involved with things for a while. They have a lot of knowledge that should not be dismissed so readily. I think that they are both very active in a lot of community events, and that their knowledge is important in all of these activities. And I think not having them on it would be a loss for the ANC, this ANC task force. And I think that there's no magic number. If you have 9 people or if you have 11 people, I don't think it really matters, because certain people might miss meetings or things like that. So it's not going to be an overwhelming number. And I just think that they should be considered. And that's all I really have to say.
Lisa, do you want me to respond, or do we want to wait and take all of these questions?
I don't need any response. I just making a case.
Let's go to Jim Feltman.
I just wanted to correct. Peter Goslin said I'm in his district. I think I'm in Peter Lynch's district. I live on Connecticut. So that's all. I just wanted to, I don't want anybody to be under misapprehension where I live.
Fair enough.
Andrea Rosa.
Hi. I feel that Ron Eichner should not be on the committee because he is.
Andrea, could I interrupt and just ask you to come
Yes.
on camera?
Really?
Yeah, honestly, but the problem is that when we put this up, the video up, you don't show up at all if you're not on camera.
Oh, really?
And you know, I should have
Okay.
asked Jim the same thing.
I wasn't prepared to.
Yeah,
Well.
you look wonderful. I mean,
Okay, anyway, I feel that Ron Eichner's views are very well represented by a number of organizations and also by OP and DEMPED, the organizations being Ward 3 Vision, of which he is a member, Coalition for Smarter Growth, and Greater Washington. So I don't feel that he brings a unique point of view to the group. In contrast, Jonathan Guy, and I really don't know how to pronounce Agnieszka, sorry, Frischman's name, even though I've communicated with her by email. Both of them live within a half block of Connecticut Avenue on Side Street. I think it's Morrison. And I feel that they will be impacted, not necessarily during the redevelopment of the civic core, but when things are redeveloped on the avenue. And because they're part of what was called the planning area, such things as the elimination of single family zoning will be something that undoubtedly will come up, especially with the comp plan being rewritten in the next few years. So, and finally, I would like to say it'd be lovely to have more than like a random woman here and there. I mean, looking at the ANC, I realize it all depends on who runs for offices and who comes forward, but it is a little peculiar to see women who are the majority so underrepresented. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn this thing off.
Commissioners, did you all have any follow-up questions or comments?
I have a couple of comments. First of all, with regard to what Jerry said, I think we need to tap all the knowledge, including Ron's knowledge of these issues, and we will in the process of working with this committee and working with people in the community. With regard to what Andrea said about representing people in immediately impacted areas, Connor McCarthy lives on Northampton Street, directly across from the basketball court behind the library, beside the community center. So we have a representative of the immediately impacted area. And with regard to the balance, the gender balance, Andrea is right. There will be only, if this slate is approved, there will be only 2 of 9 two women of 9. I think you're going to find, as this committee goes forward, that Suzanne Slater, who is the president of Habitat for Humanity for the DC and Northern Virginia, will be a very important voice on this group. And so I don't think that I think that we're tapping the best people here, and I don't think that the gender balance is a big worry. I see that Jamie Butler also has a comment, but wants to comment about Andrea's comment about Ron Eichner, and I just think we're going to get into a tit for tat.
Well, she declined to. I tried to promote her, and she declined.
Okay, so with this in hand, could we? And does this satisfy you, Bruce, that we've answered the questions in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to be sure people could be heard if they wish to. Yeah.
So,
so I could jump in very quickly, Peter. If anybody is out there and feeling like they have missed the boat or feels like they could add to the decision-making process, we are open. The committee is open. There's a possibility for gaining further input. And again, this is a community process. So please come to the meeting tomorrow, come to the meeting Thursday, stay up to date with committee meetings, ANC meetings, and volunteer for these positions. Recommend people that you may think will be good candidates. And there are so many qualified people in this neighborhood that will be fine. But just wanted to put that reminder out there again. Thank you.
Jamie.
Hi, Lisa, thank you. I do feel compelled to respond because I think that Ron Eichner was involved initially with promoting the idea of the small area plan and the development in the civic core. He is knowledgeable, he lives in the neighborhood, he has been involved from the beginning. He may not agree with some of it, with the proposal that we and other groups put together for the library site, but he wouldn't be on it to promote his own proposal. He would be on it to bring his expertise of the neighborhood, of community development. And you can decide not to choose him, but I actually really resent him being depicted in the chat and also here as representing the views of a government agency, which is just untrue. So thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
let me ask a question. Do you think, do we have a, diversity in views in terms of development on the committee?
I think we do. And what we have, which I think is as important, is that we have people who are open-minded about how we proceed forward. My concern about some of the candidates, Ron as an example, is Ron has very firm views on this. He is very knowledgeable, but he has very firm views on this. And I think this committee is essentially going to be a research arm for the ANC on these issues, and it's going to be a lot of grunt work and nonpartisan, non-ideological grunt work. What do we know about housing over libraries? I mean, what is the experience in DC? What is the experience in Chicago? What is the experience elsewhere? What do we know about, and so on and so forth, so I do think that we have a reasonable diversity of views, a reasonable diversity of sort of geographical position around, and a willingness to be open-minded to how we tackle these issues. I mean, I'm sorry, what are you asking me to address? I mean, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because it's important. And looking at most committee members, most have strong views one way or the other. So that doesn't bother me. I just think as long as we have a diversity of viewpoints, folks that are coming, and I'm very familiar with Susan. I'm not as familiar with Connor and Rasheen. So I'll leave it up to you all as the committee co-chairs to make sure you have that diversity of opinion.
Okay, and if we come to the view that we don't, we can add. I mean, we'll come back to you, but I think this is, we need to, what I've said repeatedly to Peter and to the rest of you is these issues are breaking over us right now. If we wait to get this committee up and operating, each of us is gonna have to do it on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm advocating for. We're gonna appoint them
Okay.
now. So, I'm just asking about the slate. Michael Zeldin?
So I'm sorry, I've gotten confused. There's a pool here that Peter has sent around that has 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 7 or 8 names. If you include Connor, that's 8 names. And we're picking how many of these 8? 3? 4.
Yeah.
So I guess my problem is, I've read the resumes and they're all way more qualified than am I to do anything essentially. But I don't know, if we don't hear from them, how we go about making a choice among them. I mean, reading the resume is fine, but I don't know how, I mean, many of the resumes aren't really related specifically to community development. You know, some of them are just concerned citizens, which is wonderful. And as I said, they're all highly qualified people. But Peter, what's your thinking about how am I supposed to have, besides reading the resume, how am I supposed to have determined which 4 of 8 serves the racial and equity needs that RAS represents? How many of them represent nonprofit development points of view? How many of them represent for-profit development points of view? I mean, how are you asking me to make that decision?
Michael, I'm a little confused. I started this section of trying to handle this issue by saying, you have the resumes before you. Do you have any questions for them? And everyone was silent. I mean,
I'm sorry, because I thought there'd be presentations and there'd be questions afterwards. I wasn't thinking that there'd be questions before people made presentations about why they want to be on the committee. So I misunderstood. Usually I ask questions after I hear from people rather than questioning before I hear from them. But
I'm trying to find a way to do this in a reasonable amount of time with the workload we have in this meeting. I mean, if you feel that each person needs to make a presentation, I guess we will do that. I think that ultimately I'm asking you to make a decision, having looked at the resumes and knowing that we have talked to many of these people and this is our best guess. And Peter Lynch and I are going to have to manage this committee. So I guess part of this is asking you to trust my judgment on these matters. But you know, if you want to, well, I turn to the chair. How do you want to handle this?
Michael, do you want to hear from the members of the committee?
Well,
they're being nominated.
I mean, I'd like to hear from the other commissioners as well. I guess my view is we've got 50 constituents on the phone. We've heard some talk as to some of the candidates and others not. I guess I'm happy in some sense to rely on Peter and Peter's judgment, but on the other hand, it worries me that I'm relying on other people's judgments without having at least heard in some way from them, you know, why do you want to be on this committee and what do you think you bring to the committee? Seems to be just two questions that would then help us, you know, sort of sort it. And we may not be able to vote tonight. It may be that we have to have a discussion among ourselves, having heard the the presentation. And now, Peter, don't make faces because you're not getting your way.
Let me just say, I mean, I will do this any way that satisfies you. If we do it, if we have everybody present, I'm going to leave the meeting as soon as we finish the matters that I have, because I have cataract surgery tomorrow. If we delay, Michael, I think we are handicapping this committee. These issues, Thursday, there will be a surplus hearing conducted by DEMPED. My prediction is DEMPED will move immediately to submit a surplus proposal to the council. We, the commission, need the help of this committee to figure out, how do we respond to that? Do we go along with it? Do we oppose it? Do we propose an alternative? If we propose an alternative, what is the alternative? To whom do we propose the alternative? Just after that hearing, perhaps by the end of this month, the Office of Planning will propose a new zoning district for the Upper Connecticut Avenue corridor. That will go to the Zoning Commission. The Zoning Commission will give us 30 days to respond to that. This commission needs people doing the grunt work, the research about what are our alternatives. Do we go along with it? Can we propose a counter to the zoning proposal they make? What are the pros and cons, and what are our options? And if we wait, for example, until the meeting of the 23rd, we will have both of those issues. Skip all the other ones that are coming our way. We will have both of those issues on our plate. So I think this committee needs to get up and running fully immediately. But if you want to interview each of the people, or you want to present.
Let me hear from Bruce, and then I'll make a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in and say that I appreciate Commissioner Zeldin's interest in hearing from the candidates. I appreciate Commissioner Goslin and Commissioner Lynch's concerns about moving forward quickly. There's a sense of urgency here. I certainly appreciate that. Given that this is a standing task force, not an ad hoc task force, given the importance of the issues involved, given the community interest in this, my question would be, again, recognizing the urgency, if we heard from the candidates this evening and we were able to reflect on their statements, and we came back and we did vote in 2 weeks' time, how much would that set us back? I understand it, the issues that Commissioner Gosselin's just briefed on. But I think it's an important task force. It's an important group of people. And I think I would benefit also from hearing people make statements as to what they bring to this and how they see the job. Again, I'm new, obviously, so I'm in a particular position of wanting as much information as possible. So I just wanted to weigh in on that, Commissioner Gore.
Okay.
Lisa, is it possible, would it be possible if we wanted to? I know people hate these administrative meetings, but could we meet next week as an administrative meeting to vote, so we don't have to wait the 2 weeks?
We can't vote at an administrative meeting.
Can't vote in an administrative meeting.
Or hold a special meeting, whatever we call, whatever.
We can hold a special meeting.
Right.
But let me hear from Zach. Zach had his hand up.
Yes. First, thanks to all the applicants who are still with us and watching this and for willing to volunteer. 2 ideas. You said the committee has a lot of work. We mentioned we all have very qualified applicants. Is there some reason why we can't expand the committee larger if there's so much work to be done? And the second idea would just be to have the applicants write us, a short thing about them and their views on how, something, they don't have a long essay, but that way that would save the commission time and then vote on it 2 weeks. So those are 2 ideas of ways we could either bring more volunteers in or better hear from them and vote on them.
Would the commission entertain a 1-minute presentation from the candidates tonight? I definitely second Peter's strong sense and urging to get this committee underway. With the surplus hearing, the meeting is on the 12th, but the comments close on the 9th. So we have to have our resolution and comments into DMPED by that date. If we vote on the 23rd, I mean, we're just not allowing any time for this committee to do the work to help us with the recommendation. And that's a huge one. Our comment on this surplus hearing is huge. So I would ask if you all want to hear from them. I think mostly everybody is here. Maybe they can make a 1-minute presentation of the folks he's recommending, and then vote from there. Michael.
So, I'm sorry, following up on what Zach said, is there, Peter Goslin, with the amount of work that you just articulated, following up, as I said, on Zach's point, is there a downside to saying, look, these 8 people have stepped forward. The work is endless, as we know. Let's make just a little bit larger committee and let those who have expressed an interest proceed. It's not like everything is going to come to the commission for our final determination. So it's not as if they're going to make votes that bind us in any way. But if they're the arms and legs of the commission on these issues, and they bring diverse expertise to this and a willingness to do this, I guess I'm wondering, is there a downside? And if there is, what is the downside to having just a little bit larger committee?
Well, look,
and then we can forego the presentations.
Peter, may I take this?
Well, let me take one part and then you take another. And that's just that I think our experience, and Lisa, you can correct me, but I think our experience with RAISE is that the large committees are harder to work with. And I thought that was the kind of conclusion we were coming to about RAISE. So I'm fine with adding more people. I'm fine with adding all of the candidates. I do think that, you present it's a management problem. We're just getting people together, having maybe it self-corrects over time. People don't show.
It usually does.
We'll end up with a 9 or a 7 or whatever committee. But I mean, if that will solve the problem for people, look, and let me just say to the people who I did not include on the slate, I apologize, and I will work with you closely if this is the way the commission goes. Peter L. had wanted to make a remark too.
Yeah, Commissioner Zeldin, I totally hear your concerns, and I was one of the early proponents of slowing this process down. But now that we're here, I think you're going to be really confident in the people that we have on this slate. And the other 4 are not precluded from joining later. So that option is open in the near future. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I think you'll be impressed with the people that we have here. We thought about this through several different factors: geography, background, involvement in the ANC, perspective on the potentials of the Civic Corps. So we had a lot there. I do agree at this point that if we wait, it is maybe going to hold us back a little bit. But with the add-on that these folks are going to be able to help out, and we welcome their help later on.
So, Peter, if they're able to help out later on, and they're here and now ready to help, why not just say, all right, let's have you start helping us from the beginning? Because there will be attrition. There is always attrition.
Sure.
And the amount of work that has been articulated and the timeline for it being completed, for me, argues in favor of having a few extra arms and legs than adding people at a future point and having them catch up. So I guess where I come out now is that I would propose the amendment of allowing all of these people to serve on this committee. It coincides with our commitment last year and what many commissioners have run on in the election coming up to this, of maximizing community involvement. So I just hate the precedent of saying, sorry, we're going to exclude 4 people who want to volunteer from this community. I don't think that's a good look for us.
Peter, would you take that as a friendly amendment? And let me give you my thoughts on that. Peter Goslin. I support Michael's proposal. We're only adding 4 more. It definitely will work out through attrition. The committee also has the ability to set its own rules and procedures. So if membership, one of the things that the race committee is talking about now is membership meeting requirements. So you have the ability to kind of set your rules and procedures in terms of how people operate on a committee. The committee is not that large if you add the additional 4. And it is really critical. One thing I cannot express to the commission enough is that it is critical to get them going now. That's one thing I'm willing to work and navigate some of these issues just to get the committee up and going. Because we really do need them to do that.
So fine. I think that the way to handle this is the way that it's been proposed. Let's get everybody on the committee.
No, I'm sorry. I'm a co-chair and I do not.
Wait a minute, hang on a minute. Let's go to order. The procedure, the question now that has been put before the maker of the motion is, would you accept the friendly amendment? The maker of the motion has the right to accept it or not.
Okay. So Peter Lynch, what I'm going to do is accept, and then we're going to discuss the amended proposal for everybody. I will say to all of you, I think you're making more work for a group that needs to hit the ground running soonest. But I agree, all of these people are extraordinarily talented. And so I will accept as a friendly amendment that we bring everybody, all 8, onto the committee. And is somebody going to second that? Well, I guess I'm accepting it as a friendly amendment. So now we're discussing. Is that correct?
Right. And I second it. Right.
Lisa,
Right.
Peter ought to be able to
Peter
have
Lynch?
it since he's co-chair.
Peter Lynch,
So
then
I'm
please
a
raise your
coach.
hand, commissioners.
I'm a co-chair of this committee, and we had not talked about prior to this meeting including 8 extra people on the committee. And I don't believe that's even in the bylaws that are part of the addition to the committee. And working with 9 in a committee that was 5 with I think is smart for the time being. And we, as we both have said, we'll have the opportunity to add people later. If we add, what's the math? If we add all 8, we're at an even number, right?
We're not, we're at 13. Right.
I think there ought to be also respect for the committee, the co-chairs of the committee who decided before this to add 4 for a total of 9 and was strongly advocated for. So let's remember that. And I'm a little, well, I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Zach, did you have your hand raised? If not, it's cool.
I was just gonna say, if we do vote on probably 4 or 8, we should probably list the names just for clarity for the.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
And one parliamentary question, Peter. The motion, the resolution that we just passed, did that have a number in it, or?
Yes, it has 9. So we'll have to go back. We'll have to reverse.
We can amend that, right?
Yeah, we'll have to amend that.
And we can do that very quickly.
Okay. So do others have comments on a 13-member versus a 13?
Bruce has his hand up. Bruce.
You're on mute.
You're muted, Bruce.
Yeah, sorry about that. My preference would be for 9, not 13. I think we're just on the fly adding 4 more people without really giving it due deliberation. It seems to be a matter of convenience as opposed to a matter of due consideration. So I would suggest, going back to the recommendation that Commissioner Zeldin made, bring everyone on. Let's have a minute. Commissioner Gore, your suggestion, a minute of their presentation. We'll have that information from them and we can make a decision.
So let me just remind the commission of what is on the table. The vote is on the friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to dispose of the vote. This is what the discussion is for. I really don't think adding 4 additional members is a major issue here with this committee. We have 2 co-chairs. The race committee was larger than this initially, with 2 co-chairs handling it. You know, you're going to have 4 extra diverse people that can work on the committee.
So I guess I call the question on the friendly amendment. So this is voting whether we're going to do a 13-member committee or bring everybody on, and then we'll have to go back and change the resolution that we just passed, or go back to what Bruce just suggested. Lisa, do you want to conduct the vote?
Yeah, not to confuse everyone, the vote is on bringing on the friendly amendment to add all 8 nominees.
Do you want me to name the 8 nominees? Okay. Jordan Benderly, Rasheen Carbon, Ron Eichner, James Feldman, Agnieszka Friesman, Jonathan Guy, Connor McCarthy, Suzanne Slater. So do you want to take a vote?
Yeah, so I call for the vote.
And so the vote is, please to be sure, if people vote for it, if this passes, then we have a 13-member commission and we're done. If it fails, we go back to the original proposal, which would be a 9-member commission, and then we'll decide whether we want to just vote on the recommendation of the co-chairs or we want to have presentations and then a vote. Is that correct?
With one caveat, once we vote on this friendly amendment, we have to go back to the resolution that we just passed and increase the number from 9 to 13.
Not if it fails.
Not if, no, not if it fails. That's right. That's right. If it succeeds, right? Okay.
So all those in favor of the friendly amendment of including all 8 in the commission, raise your hand.
We're going to end up 3 and 3. Oh, you,
No,
Peter.
Or all those not in favor, raise your hand. Any abstention? Okay, the motion passes 4-2.
So I propose to amend the just passed resolution to increase the number cited in paragraph paragraph 1 of the resolved from 9 to 13.
Second.
Good.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah, I've got,
Any discussion?
yes.
Okay, go on.
So one co-chair disagrees with this. Peter G agrees with this. The first that we're ever hearing of changing this committee to 13 members is several moments ago. And the bylaws were recently changed from a 5-person committee to a 9-person committee. And
It's
now
not
we're
bylaws.
of the committee.
There is no bylaws on the committee. It's a resolution.
The resolution of the committee is being changed from 5 to 9 and now to 13, all in this quick decision. I would hope that we can all communicate a little more clearly on this, and we owe that clear communication to the people that applied to this committee and assume that 4 people are going to be picked tonight as well. So thank you.
I agree.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries 4-2.
Okay, that was one messy process.
A lot of these processes are. Okay, Peter.
Well, it wasn't at least Peter on the 15th vote, so we got it in before
You
that.
got it.
Actually, I'm thinking of a proposal to ask Michael to join the committee.
I think 14 is way too many.
I'm sure.
Okay, we need to move on the agenda, folks.
Next issue's mine.
Yes.
Okay. So we have in front of us it is a renewal of a liquor license with a change of hours. So this is slightly complicated. This is for the new and highly critically acclaimed restaurant Opal at 5534 Connecticut Avenue. They are moving the license from the prior owner over to them. So in that regard, it's a renewal, but they seek to change the hours, which currently are the hours of operation, alcoholic beverage sales and service are currently from 10:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. And they are seeking for on Sunday through Saturday, and they are seeking to change that Sunday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. They're also seeking to change the current hours of operation for sales of alcohol for consumption at a sidewalk cafe from for Sunday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. They're seeking to change it to 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. Now, a partner in the restaurant and the chef is with us. I hope he's still with us. If he is, Colin McClemens, could you bring him up?
Yeah.
Colin, could you raise your hand so people could, you see him?
Yep. Who's the next one?
And he is here to answer questions. I just say that if you look on the very recent review, Tom Stitzmina's recent review, this is at the top of the list of his favorite places in Washington. These are the same people who brought you Nina May. So I'll leave. Colin, are you up and do you want to say, there you are. Could you come on camera and just briefly tell us what you have in mind?
Yep,
Peter, is this the arugula space?
This is the arugula.
It is, yes.
Colin, can you come on camera?
Yep. I just have to change my privacy settings, I guess. Hold on, just give me 1 second.
Peter, was there anyone else to promote or just Colin?
Colin, do you have anybody else you want?
Oh,
Sorry, I'm back.
all right.
Yeah, welcome to our not very efficient NC.
All good, all good. Yeah, we want to try to extend the hours. The liquor license is in the business's name currently. We already took it from the previous owner, but now we're looking at changing the hours of operation from what it is. And realistically, given the family nature of the neighborhood, we'd like to be open a little bit earlier for brunch. And with the current hours, if you have young children, 10:30 is not breakfast time. So, and then for the nighttime, just extend the hours, just in case we have large groups or events that we could then keep open a little longer for them.
Peter, you calling questions or you want me to do it?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll do. I'm trying to cope with the last decision. Michael.
Lisa was first. If
I'm
you had
sorry.
your hand up, Lisa.
Colin, can you give me again the new hours that you're changing from to?
Right now we are 10:30 to midnight for inside. And then the outside is 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. We'd like to change to 9 a.m. To 2 a.m. and then
9 a.m. to 1 a.m. for the outside. We wouldn't change the hours of operation, at least for when we close. So we would still close at 10 o'clock Tuesday through Thursday, and then 11 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. It would just be for the liquor license in case, again, we had any larger group or something like that that was staying a little bit later. So we, again, weren't running the risk of breaking the law or anything like that.
Okay. And I don't know of any incidents at that location from the previous restaurant. Do you know of any?
I do not. I know it was vacant for a year before we took it. And then I know that during COVID, it was mostly a catering operation. So I don't know if they did a lot of, in the last 3 years, they've done a lot in that location. But our other restaurant, we've never had any problems, and we have very similar hours to that. Obviously, that's in a little bit different neighborhood, being in Logan Circle, but you know, again, not trying to start a nightclub or anything like that. We're just simply trying to make sure that the hours of operation match, again, what the community needs, especially for the morning, and then obviously that we're not you know, having to shut down before you know, we can kind of complete sales in the PM.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Michael?
So I guess, Colin, my only concern is nothing on Connecticut Avenue stays open until 2 that I know of. Is there, am I wrong about that? Are there places? that
I
stay
don't
open
know
till
what,
2?
I would say the Avenue is probably the only other bar in that neighborhood. I don't know what their liquor license has them to.
Do you
Again,
know, Peter Gosselin, what
I don't know.
I mean, again, I'm not, we're not trying to stay open till 2 a.m. and do sales until 2 a.m. like a bar or like a club downtown. Again, it would only be for the ability to, again, wedding reception, anything like that you were doing at the restaurant for a full buyout or something like that. That's the only ever time we've ever had an issue or needed to kind of be open in Logan, is when we had a full buyout or a restaurant buyout where people stay again till 12:30, 1 o'clock, and you're trying to kind of complete those sales.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess a little bit, it's not my SMD, so the person who leads it, I'll trust your judgment on what you recommend. It just seemed an outdoor, the possibility of people being outdoors on that avenue until 1, selling alcohol may be disruptive, but again, I'll just defer to the people who have expertise in this. And Jerry Mallitz, are you saying you're saying most places have licenses until 2 p.m. Do you mean 2 a.m.? And yeah, so 2, he says most places gave licenses until 2 a.m. since it includes cleanup time, not service time.
Yeah, you have to be, if you're like right now at 11 o'clock for outside, we would have to be completely off of the outside. That means you couldn't have like a check and be sitting out there. You'd have to be removed from the
Okay,
patio.
well, that makes a big difference. Then it's fine with me. Thank you, Jerry Mallitz.
Okay, and Colin, the other question I have, and I've always been confused about this, besides the new deck in front,
That's the only outside seating.
Okay, so the deck in back is
that's not on our property. That's the avenue has the deck in the back. That's on the other side of Child's Play. So we just have trash receptacles.
Okay, fine. Do other so that's my hand that's up. So let me take that down. And is this question? This raised hand about that's Jerry.
Yeah.
So Jerry, have you said what you wanted to say in the Q&A or chat, or do you want to come online? I don't know. Do you want to promote, Jerry?
I asked him that. He was like, "What question?"
He's saying no online, I think.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. No online. Good. Okay. So do commissioners or community members have other questions? Okay. With that, I move that we support this transfer and expansion of hours. This will go before, I think, Abra. Is there a hearing on this soon?
Yes,
I think
it's in February.
It's in February, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. So Colin, thank you, and thank you for your patience.
Anytime. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate everything you guys are doing for the community.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter, for handling that. The next item on the agenda is a matter being handled by Commissioner Sherman. Welcome to your first issue you're handling.
Well, I look forward to it, and it's a pleasure to introduce Sarah and John Dick, residents on 31st Street, 6407 31st Street. Commissioners Zeldin, Gore, and Goslin, you might recall that in October, they appeared before the commission on a similar matter, that is, are seeking a special exception to permit additions and extensions to their property. I had the pleasure of visiting with them at their property on Saturday. I saw the property inside and out. I saw their plans. We discussed what they wanted to do. And I heard the backstory that once they got the permission previously from the recommendation, the approval from the ANC, and they sent their application forward, the Office of Planning sent it back to them for further amendment. And so Sarah and John are now joining us. She has a presentation. You've all received that in advance. My guess is, Commissioner Gore, Chair, it's going to be relatively straightforward and efficient. So I will turn it over to Sarah and John for them to explain to you precisely what further information they've needed to provide to the city and what they're proposing to do. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Bruce, and congratulations to all the new commissioners. Nice to see everybody who we talked to in October again. As Commissioner Sherman mentioned, we were requested by the Office of Planning to provide or add an addendum to our application requesting relief from parking for our renovation. The plans that we are presenting are exactly identical to what we presented in October. It's merely adding the additional special exception. I know it sounds like you all have seen the presentation. I'm happy to share it with you, or if you've had a chance to review it and had any questions, we can answer any questions.
Maybe we go to that. If there are any questions by the commissioners, if you've had a chance to see the presentation.
I've reviewed it and I don't have any questions.
I don't know.
Same.
Okay. All right.
Bruce, you
Very
want
good. Sarah, John, is there anything else you'd like to let us know? Not to keep you on, but
No, we appreciate your time. And as I said to you, Bruce, when you came by this weekend, we have support of our neighbors. Our application has letters of support filed, people across the street, next door, everybody seems in favor of our proposed plans, and there weren't any objections in our direct vicinity of the neighborhood. So we're excited to hopefully improve the property and be part of the community.
right, that's excellent. And again, the commissioners who renewed their service on this particular term have heard this before, so they're aware of what you've had in mind. I would just say from my side, I very much appreciate your outreach to your neighbors. I also appreciate the design of the property that will be architecturally consistent with the neighborhood. It won't be obtrusive as far as I can tell by looking at it. I'm not an architect or a developer. But I think that's very important in light of the fact that there is development going on in our ANC, in our single member district right now that is generating a lot of controversy. Precisely because of a lack of communication with neighbors and an opportunity for people to feel like they can weigh in. So I commend you for your outreach to your neighbors and for the design that you are going to be pursuing. So do we have a motion to approve their proposal? Yes. All right. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. All in favor, please raise your hands. All right. I think it's 6-0 here. So we've passed this. And Sarah and John, again, best of luck. I know that you have your hearing before BZA on the 18th. Is that correct?
That's correct. The big
All
orange
right.
signs are out.
Yep.
Thank
yep,
you all
yep.
for your time.
Very good. Okay,
And
thank
Bruce-
you.
Bruce, before Sarah and John get off, just as a reminder, we have to do that Form 129. I will do that tonight That'll be the
Thank
last
you
thing I do
for
before I go to bed.
I really appreciate it.
They're very,
you.
I think their deadline to get that in, so that everything is not held up is by tomorrow. So I don't believe, Bruce, you probably have access to that system yet. So I will file it and I will email everybody the final file copy, including the folks down at BZA.
Bless you, Chair Gore.
We appreciate the help.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. How do I, oh my goodness. Randy, we lost Randy. Let's see. I made them hosts. Now I have to, oh, Sarah, are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Can you make me the host?
Yes, we can.
Can you imagine if she logged off and the whole meeting went offline? Thank you. We're learning this technology.
All right, you should be host now.
Thank you so much.
Well, if you went offline, the worst could happen is that we start all over again.
Oh my God. That would be a nightmare. I could see the listserv tomorrow. Okay, next, Commissioner Gosselin, your agenda item is up next on the Historic Preservation Review Board application for the Chevy Chase Savings Bank, which is PNC.
Okay, could you promote Zachary Burt of the Historic Preservation Review Board? This is an application for historic designation of what's known by the Historic Preservation Review Board as the Chevy Chase Savings Bank, but we know as PNC. Zach's going to do a brief presentation about this, but we're not going to vote on this until next meeting. There's a hearing before the review board on January 26th. Zach has told me already that the board sought PNC's reaction to this and didn't get it. And Zach Ferguson, I did not get over to the branch, although the branch presumably would not have authority to comment on it. But I was just too busy today. The other thing that Zach Burt tells me is that the designation is for the building, not the full property. The parking lot is not going, we're not asking that it be declared historic. So with that, I think that, and one other thing I guess I'd say, the historic Chevy Chase DC has signed off on this. You'll see on the application document, which you have through our materials section of the meeting page, Carl Lankowski signed off on this. And with that, Zach, why don't you talk us through a little bit about this? Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to share a few slides. I think I'm able to. Oh, maybe not.
Can you give him, without handing off the host role, can you give him?
Co-host.
Okay, I think it's working now.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me tonight. Congratulations on your recent elections. And also, it's good to see another Zach here. And I have to admit, every time I heard the name Zach over the past hour and a half, I had a momentary panic that I was being called upon. My name is Zachary Burt. I'm at the DC Preservation League. I'm the Community Outreach and Grants Manager. And I'm going to talk tonight about our nomination along with Historic Chevy Chase DC. We submitted this for the Chevy Chase Savings Bank at the corner of, is it Morrison? Did I get that right?
Right.
Okay, good. So you can see it right here. And as Commissioner Gosselin mentioned, the red outline is the lot, and designation is generally by the lot level, or at least we submit stuff referencing lots rather than arbitrary lines. But as you can see here, the purple, that's specific to the bank building. And then hypothetically, HPRB would subdivide the lot if they were ever going to develop it and whatnot. But we can cross that bridge when we get to it. The purple below the red line is the Chevy Chase Arcade, which is one of the few landmarks up in the Chevy Chase commercial strip. So I just want to share this too. And then also you'll see we're nominating one contributing property, which you can see that in the form on page 3 under section 5. So the reason I'm here tonight is because, as Commissioner Gosselin said, HPRB is going to be reviewing this on January 26th. So I just want to give a brief overview of the history. I know it's getting late. We've all been sitting here a while, but I just want to make a few points about this building. It was constructed in 1926. You can see the original rendering right here. If you're familiar with this corner, you're probably thinking, oh, wow, that looks rather short because it extends farther west along Morrison. That was added in 1958, and they tried really hard to make it look like it was original. But I think if you look closely, you can tell it is an addition. It's a very good addition because they were able to trick probably most pedestrians walking by. And the addition was done by a different architect, but the architect I want to highlight here, it's Arthur B. Heaton, who's one of the most prolific and premier architects here in the district. He did everything from banks to bus garages to apartment buildings to the National Geographic headquarters down at 16th and M. So in the words of DC architecture, he's a big deal. So the bank at that corner. And the nomination is arguing for National Register significance under criteria A and criteria A and C. There's also corresponding significance at the DC inventory, but in a nutshell, all those different letters there, it basically means we're arguing for events in history and architecture, which are kind of the two common ones that are argued for in significance. And the period of significance is from 1926, when the original building was finished, to 1958, when the addition was completed. And the building has high historical integrity. Just briefly going over the history, under criterion A, that events in history and the patterns of history, why this bank matters is it represents the neighborhood savings banks, which were very common throughout the district. There's another nomination we have for the Northeast Savings Bank on H Street Northeast, which kind of did the same thing. It was vital to that community when it was growing in the early 20th century. And this bank is actually the first financial institution in Chevy Chase. So it has that significance right there, which I think is kind of cool. It's a key neighborhood institution. I think anyone who's walking down the street, whether they're really that attuned to architecture or not, you can tell this building stands out compared to the rest of the strip, along with the arcade and the movie theater. The Chevy Chase Land Company they actually didn't own the west side of the street, which allowed this commercial strip to develop. A guy named Fulton R. Gordon bought the land and created Connecticut Ave, and he allowed for this commercial strip to develop on the west side. They actually didn't develop the east side of Connecticut Avenue along here until 1952, just because of different restrictions from the Chevy Chase Land Company. Just some interesting, anecdotes. The first business here was in 1910. It was a grocery store, and Chevy Chase Savings Bank was originally on McKinley, and then they bought the land in 1922 at Morrison Street, and in 26 they opened the bank there a year after the Chevy Chase Arcade, which I mentioned earlier. So obviously the Great Depression was not good for a lot of local banks. This was one of the banks that had to close when FDR was issuing the banking emergency. If we all remember back in US history class, the 1933 banking holiday. And following this, they merged with Riggs National Bank because it had some insolvency problems. Riggs owned this bank until 2005. Riggs, I wasn't aware about this, but I guess Riggs had a scandal in the early 21st century, and that kind of led to PNC coming in. And as I mentioned, 1958, the 40-foot addition was completed. And it's really those, those three arched windows over here as the addition. And I think you can kind of see the color difference here. So then criterion C is that architectural significance. I talked about how Arthur B. Heaton, he's one of the great DC local architects. It's done in an Italian Renaissance style. The principal materials is the Ohio sandstone, granite, marble, brick masonry, and all of these aspects they put together on the bank, Heaton put together. They really represent permanence and prosperity. And, subconsciously, that's what you want in a bank, right? And that's why banks look the way they do, because they're supposed to articulate something to the consumer, right? So one of my favorite parts of it has these great medallions of LaFont, and there's actually a medallion of Washington, but it's covered up by that PNC Bank sign. And there's two medallions as well of the Peace Dollar, both sides of the Peace Dollar over on Morrison Street. And one of them's covered, but one of them's, you can see, so kind of similar to the Connecticut Avenue facade. And this is just an interesting anecdote too, but Heaton did another bank, Washington Loan and Trust, over in West End, and it was demolished in the 1970s, but it was very similar to this bank. And so this is really the only one left of this particular style and what Heaton did. And I'm sure many of you have seen James Good's capital losses book. It's usually in every apartment lobby in this town on the coffee table. And I thought this was an interesting quote. It says, "Here, an Italian Renaissance palazzo was beautifully transmitted to a street corner of the District of Columbia. This applies to the West End branch, but I think you could say the same thing about this corner up in Chevy Chase and what an absolutely gorgeous building it is." And so just real quick, I notified PNC back in March of 2022. I can't believe that was almost a year ago now that I'm looking at the date. And I never heard anything from them. I talked to the bank manager, or the branch manager, he was going to pass it along. Didn't hear anything. That's not totally unusual to not hear something, especially from a big corporation. I think Commissioner Gosselin mentioned this at some point. HPO has their own notification process. My understanding is they still haven't heard anything either. They would let me know if they had heard something, and I haven't heard anything. And then, as I mentioned, we submitted this in April after a 30-day period, and now it's scheduled for HPRB consideration. So that's kind of where things stand right now, but I would love to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, take down your good. Okay, do commissioners have questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. Zachary, thank you for being here and thanks for the presentation. Really interesting. The parking lot, how much of that is going to be included in historic preservation, if at all?
Yeah, so that's what I was mentioning earlier. If you look at the National Register nomination and you go to page 3 of section 5, it lays out, I guess you could say, the assets that are being discussed, right, for lack of a better word, and it lists one contributing building. So it just is the bank. Now, if someone was hypothetically writing a nomination and they said, you know, I really like that parking lot. I think it's a great parking lot. I think it's really beautiful. I think it should be protected. They would put one structure, one contributing structure, or they would add to it. The parking lot's not part of the building, right? So if you look at page 3, you'll see one contributing building. That's what this is all about. Now, I also said at the beginning of the presentation that a lot of this is done at the lot level. So hypothetically, this would go to HPRB, and after they designate it at a future point, they could subdivide the lot to allow for development there. And so HPRB, you're just adding that layer of review, but that's kind of the extent of it. And I don't know if I answered your question. Maybe that was too technical. I'm sorry.
No, that was fine. And thank you for the response. Is there a way to isolate the building as opposed to the lot, which includes the parking lot?
Well, you wouldn't really do it. It wouldn't be considered best practices, because when you write a nomination and you do an architectural description, you have to talk about the surroundings. And so the parking lot exists. It exists now in 2023. It might not exist in 5 years. So if you're writing the nomination in 5 years, maybe you want to include the parking lot because it doesn't exist. But as of right now, it exists. So you at least have to acknowledge it, but it's a non-contributing structure.
Okay, let me just ask a very sort of layman question. 20 years from now, if we did give this historic status and PNC wanted to offer up that parking lot to a developer, would they be able to build on it without the encumbrances of a historic designation?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for HPRB or what HPRB might do in 20 years, because it's going to have different people looking at, the same law, but the law might have been amended at that point or whatever it may be. So it's a little bit of too much of a hypothetical, but the parking lot is not discussed in the nomination. So no reasonable person would read the bank nomination and walk away going, oh, wow, that parking lot's really significant, because it's not even really it's like a non-entity in the nomination, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess I'm confused as to why it's included in the lot then.
Because what I said earlier, you have to discuss what surrounds something. So you at least have to reference it, it exists, there's a parking lot. And then you just, we're focused on the building. like I said, look at page 3. And if you still have questions, I'm happy to talk to you offline about it. But when you look at the nomination, I think it's very clear that this is only about the building.
Well, could I ask a question following up on that?
Thank you, Zachary.
Yeah.
Zachary, does this proposal constrain the review board to make a decision just about the building and not let it bleed into the parking lot? Your answer was sort of ambiguous, that sort of suggested that a reasonable person wouldn't see it that way. Can the review board say, hey, could they unilaterally say, we really love the parking lot too? And because we have concerns about it being able to build housing. And let me add one other related question.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not saying I'm in favor of this or utterly against it, but there have been proposals made to put housing above the building. What restrictions, if any, would this designation impose on that sort of idea?
Yeah.
How would it affect that idea?
Yeah, and Commissioner Gosselin, I actually think that's a fantastic question, because that's really what the conversation should be about. The parking lot isn't really relevant because no one's arguing for significance of the parking lot. It's going to be built on one day. But as far as the bank goes, yes, there would be the design review for the bank. You couldn't do something completely crazy, add, you know, something 6 floors high and totally out of scale or whatever it may be. That's going to go through HPRB. And I think you all are rather familiar with what it's like in historic districts with just the design review and how things work. So yes, there is a restriction in the sense where it has to go through HPRB for the bank. And that is a great question that you raise.
It's also raised in the chat. Do commissioners have other questions?
There is one question in the Q&A, Peter.
Is that what I'm looking at, the Q&A? Yeah. Please confirm that
Yeah, and I think that's the recent question, the recent point I think is a really good one. I mean, this is an opportunity for people, if they want to, they can make their voices heard. And I'm happy to share the information. I can put that in the chat, where you can email statements, letters. They can be extremely formal, they can be totally informal, and those are added to the record. And so if you have concerns about that, someone who can answer it better, like an HPRB member that's making these decisions, they could address that at the meeting. So yeah, let me add that actually right now before I forget.
you're responding to Ron Eichner's question about we could testify, is that correct?
Yeah, I was gonna send this to everyone. This is the email address. If you want to submit something for the record, or if you actually want to testify like via Zoom at the meeting, you can just contact that email address and they'll answer your question.
Okay.
Zachary, I've got another question. Is that all right with the other commissioners? Does anybody else want to go forward?
Go ahead.
If this building was not given a historic designation, what would that mean to you or to this process?
Well, I think it would, as I was preparing for this and I was looking back at the West End branch and how that was torn down in 1974, I think it would be sad if we allowed something like that to happen again, when I think most people would say, oh, that's a bummer, that building was really beautiful, it was torn down in the 1970s. I don't even want to guess what replaced it, right? Some 1974 office building. And so I think it's kind of like, it sounds so cliche, but history repeats itself, right? And it's kind of like we have these warnings from the past of things that were destroyed. And so you would hope that because we know that, we now are a little bit more selective about what we do protect and what we save. And not everything is necessarily equal and open to the wrecking ball. And like I said, this is Arthur B. Heaton's remaining bank that, is in the style. And maybe it's, maybe it's not for everyone. I personally think it's a beautiful building. And it represents your community. And maybe you feel a different way, but I view it as one of the anchors of the commercial strip up there.
Yeah, no doubt. I was hoping to maybe hear from other commissioners about what they think, or if they're concerned at all about the overlap on the parking lot. And thank you, Zachary.
Well, could I just ask, to follow up on Peter's question, if we were to decide we're not going to support this, that I take it that's not decisive, or is it decisive?
It's not decisive, but HPRB does give a lot of weight to ANCs.
Great way, right?
Yeah.
It's great
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys are the community, so I mean, you guys live there, so your voice is very powerful.
I think with regard to, I guess my remark, Peter, to about the parking lot is I think if we decide to support this, I will propose that we also testify. We submit testimony that we specifically understand it does not involve the parking lot. And we can put that in the resolution and we can submit something to. Okay, I think though that this is, I'm looking at the time, this is, we're not going to vote tonight. I have not.
Commissioner Gosselin, can I just make one other point? Because I remember when we were talking last year a little bit about this. I brought up to 14th Street's actually a historic district. And I think we often think of historic districts like Georgetown. I think if you go down 14th Street between you and Thomas Circle today, I don't think most people would realize that's a historic district because there's so much development. And so I also don't want people to think that a landmark or a historic district set something completely, in like a museum glass, right? Yeah. So I think that's just also something to think about, that it's just, it depends. There's a lot of gray area there. And I think that's what makes preservation so challenging, but also exciting.
And to the commissioners, there's something that I suspect I didn't send to Lisa, unfortunately, which I will send and we will post on the materials page, that Zachary Burt sent us, titled Implications of Listing a Property in the National Register of Historic Places. And when you look at the bite, it doesn't sound as total, as sweeping as you might think. It just lists sort of it's open for tax credits.
Commissioner Gosselin, that's a great point. I just want to add to that, just so everyone's clear. HPRB designates things to the DC inventory. And the DC inventory, that's really where a lot of the teeth is. That's when it comes to restrictions on homeowners, things like that. When people are talking about that, that's actually generally the DC inventory. And the National Register is a little bit more ceremonial in a way, but it also gets those federal tax credits involved. But really, a lot of the regulation is in the DC inventory, and I just want to make that clear to everyone. And so generally speaking, after HPRB designates something, if you look at like their actions, it will usually say, and have this designation forwarded to the National Register for inclusion. So I just wanted to clarify that real quick.
And just, is there a fact sheet such as the one you sent for the federal designation?
Yeah. Why don't I'll send you, let me send something tomorrow to all of you.
About the DC designation. So we give the commission both those things.
Yeah. I will send you all something tomorrow. And then if you guys have questions, feel free to call me.
Okay. Can we dispose of this?
And Peter, when is the hearing for this, and when should
January 26th. So we're cutting it a little close here.
We need to vote on the resolution on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then please submit it, and I can remind you all of this, but please submit it to that email address so that it's part of the record for the members to review before they go into their meeting.
Okay.
So just one thing before you go, Zach, I think it was Peter or Zach had a question about what other commissioners think about the parking lot. And I'm not sure what the answer that we got about that was. I think if the designation is for the building itself, I think it's a wonderful building and it should be designated. If the thought is that by designating it, it may at some future point limit the type of development that could go on that parking lot, I think that's actually probably a good thing if it means that the building that we're preserving because of its architectural beauty is not surrounded like the Red Lion Row building down by GW, which took all the character out of those townhouses that they surrounded them by this ugly glass building. So I think to that question, my point of view is good, let there be some limitations. Actually, I think if they end up building bike lanes on Connecticut Avenue, I'd love to have the bank allow parking in that in their parking lot for people who are going to lose spots on Connecticut Avenue.
Thanks for
And,
answering, Michael. Appreciate it.
Before we wrap this up, Peter Gosselin, there's quite a few questions in the Q&A on this subject. Would you like to go through those?
Sure. So let me see. I am looking at the Q&A. Am I
Some
not?
are comments and some are questions.
I'm sorry, I see Jordan Benderly saying, are we going to vote tonight? And you answering him, no. Are there open? I see. Let's try open. Okay.
Yeah, under open.
Okay, I'm going to go from the bottom up. The parking lot is zoned residential, is it not? I believe that it is zoned residential and it is only used as a parking lot with our forbearance. We have permitted it to be used as a parking lot. I don't remember the term of the ANC's latest decision on that, but I can find that out. But yes, it is zoned residential. Jamie Butler asks, when was 14th Street made a historic district? Zachary Burt?
Oh, geez, this is like a Jeopardy question. I can give you an answer in like the next 30 seconds.
Okay, while you're working on that, I'll drum up the other another question. Libby Martin asks, what is the benefit for the community of historic designation of this bank?
I mean,
and related, and an anonymous attendee asks, what does the community gain by saving the bank besides being beautiful?
Yeah. See that, well, first of all, it's hard to ask a historic preservationist that, right? In my defense, I think with preservation, I think the thing that makes preservation really difficult is a lot of the benefits can be intangible. Obviously, there's economic benefits, right? Like tax credits, things like that. But I think that there's just something to be said for when you feel like your neighborhood has a sense of place and character, and there's just something about it, right? There's something about the Chevy Chase commercial strip and the Chevy Chase neighborhood that makes it Chevy Chase, right? It doesn't feel like another part of the city. And I think buildings lend themselves to that. But that's hard because that's intangible, right? And everyone has a different view on things like that. Some people really care about that. Other people, it's not, they don't care as much. They want all new. Other people want more historic. It's just kind of depends.
Yeah, when we come to debate the substance, when the commission comes to debate the substance, I will make that case. I think it's clear that place depends on some of what was before staying on. A question from Stephen Connors. Could we ask PNC to relocate their signs? The medallions need to be seen. This has always been an issue, sad. Does the historic designation in any way give the review board or some other authority the ability to encourage, force, whatever, PNC to adjust its signage?
That is a good question. I'm gonna guess, this is just a guess, it's an educated guess. I think if PNC at some point, say it was hypothetically, let's say it was landmarked, and then let's say a year down the road, PNC wanted to change the signage, then it would go through HPRB. And yeah, maybe they would help them come up with better signage, right? That doesn't cover the medallion. But I don't see how the designation would then force them to have to change the signage. That just doesn't really, I don't think that makes sense. It's kind of like, it's not like, I didn't go to law school, but like ex post facto, like it's not going to make them go back and change things. It's just moving forward now.
Corinthius Simmons asks, is this historic designation to indirectly prevent housing development as a part of the small area plan?
No, absolutely not. It's because it's a great building that's significant to the neighborhood.
Okay, and then Andrea Rosen writes a comment that it's positive good to steward beautiful buildings. She came of age in the throwaway society. Americans fall in love with cities that preserve the fabric of the past and wonder why American cities are so sterile. And goes on to say, since the building can be adaptively reused and additional stories to housing can be added, as long as they're consistent with the design, with the present structure, there is no problem. That's a comment. So I think unless I'm missing something, those are the questions. There's a question from Chris Madden saying, what is the question we don't see? I'm not sure what I'm mystified what that's about, but maybe you could clarify that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So Lisa, do you see any other, let's see, there's a hand raised. Whose is that?
No, that's it.
Okay. So I suggest that we finish with this subject and move on. It's 9:20. Is that reasonable, commissioners?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you so much, you guys. Happy New Year,
Thank
and I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. I don't know how to change his role back. Zach, you might have to.
Oh, I'm gonna leave, so I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
leaving. I'm leaving right now.
Thank you. All right, it's one thing I gotta learn how to figure out. So our next topic is an update on surplus hearing for the Chevy Chase Civic 4. Peter, you can also chime into this. The rescheduled meeting is on the 12th, so I just want to encourage the community to come out for that. It is hybrid, so it is going to be in person, and there's, I believe, WebEx option for attendees to participate. Peter did a really good job describing it kind of in the beginning of the announcement section. We are trying to get a meeting with Gil's DPR, DPL staff and commission staff so that new commissioners can ask questions about the process. Since they weren't here from the beginning of it, I think that would be really helpful. So the only day that we have available to meet with him is, I believe, the 11th, because we have the forum tomorrow and then the meeting itself is on the 12th. So I'm waiting to hear back from that. So look, for your emails, it might be a last minute scheduled meeting. And we also, as we mentioned in the announcement section, got another proposed alternative to the city's surplus and disposition process for Northwest Opportunity Partners. That's posted on our website. I encourage everyone to go look at that. And we did meet with Meg McGuire and some of the members of Northwest Opportunity Partners to discuss their proposal. And so in transparency, that's posted on the website for everybody to see. The ANC, so the record is open until February the 9th, and that's for everyone in the community. I definitely encourage folks to submit your testimony. The ANC will have a resolution, hopefully going forward. We would have to vote on that on the 23rd as well, because our February meeting comes after the record closes. So we'd have to get that resolution in before the record closes. And I think that's the only thing I have on the updates. Peter, do you have anything else? Peter?
I just want to again say to both the community and commissioners, we hope that tomorrow there'll be a discussion among residents and commissioners, if you can join us, to try to figure out how to use, if it's possible, to use the surplus hearing to try to put some framework on this project. We, at least as has been presented to us so far, I'm really saying this for the benefit of the new commissioners, in a public hearing with Gil Stucker, the representative of the deputy mayor's office, who's a point on this project, in October and in additional meetings with him, is that we are literally being asked the abstract question of, would we consider essentially making available for sale to private parties or long-term lease to private parties a portion of our community center library site without any information about, essentially almost no information of for what portion, how much. I think, and we will try to clarify this tomorrow, this community turns out to be the first in line on a process that the council has tried to change and may have changed in an unfortunate way. The council was frustrated in the past that the Bowser administration would bring package deals to surplus or make available for private purposes, public land, and a disposition agreement, which means a proposal by a developer to do something, and then say to the council, you change anything about this and the deal is dead, the developer will walk. And so the council apparently tried to pull these two things apart. And the deputy mayor's office is now behaving as if, therefore, it can come to a community like ours and sort of say, we're not going to say anything about what the substance is, just what do you think about the concept? Which leaves us in this kind of floating in midair space. I just don't understand how we're supposed to make any decision on the basis of that. So anyways, we'll try to flesh that out by talking to some people who know the law better than we do at this event tomorrow. But it's very important to show up also at the Thursday session.
And just to add to that, just to let the community know that the ANC is looking at, the viable options that members of the community have presented to us. So we are looking at the city's option. We're looking at if we can, accomplish affordable housing without the surplus process. We have our eyes open to what's going on, and we are doing our due diligence to make sure we understand this process as much as possible. So
the ZDD is going to have to dive in on helping us with that. That's why we need to get this committee up and going.
Right.
I just say, are we going to have a discussion when we talk about bylaws about this business about 7-day noticing?
Well, when we get to the bylaws section.
Okay, I just want to know if that's going to come up. So,
anything else on the surplus hearing? Okay. Let's move on to proposed bylaws. So I submitted a round of bylaw changes. And one of the changes that, Peter was talking about was in our bylaws, we have a requirement for committees to meet. First of all, two issues with this, that committee meetings are open to the public. That's number one. And then second to that, that committee meetings are announced 7 days in advance. There have been a slew of opinions about that. I struck that from the bylaw in my proposed changes until we basically get a ruling from Office of OANC, or probably OAG is the best place to get that ruling from. And that is because there is a ruling from OAG in 2017 that says ANC committees are subject to the Open Meetings Act. And if they're subject to the Open Meetings Act, then that means we have to meet the requirements of the Open Meetings Act with our committees. So that was in there, as well as the update to the ward ANC boundaries, not ward. As you know, we had the redistricting of our wards and our ANC boundaries expanded. So that is in there. And then some other minor changes. And then Commissioner Sherman submitted proposed language addition as well. And Bruce, I definitely need you to get that, to be able to put that in a red line, kind of like how I submitted my document, so that commissioners can see where that change goes and if there's language that's being changed in addition to that. We will not vote on bylaws tonight. I don't think we have to have a super lengthy discussion on this. The most important thing for you guys to know is that the commission or anyone proposing bylaw changes has to give the commission a 2-week advance notice. So my changes and Bruce's changes meet that 2-week deadline. So that will allow us to vote on the proposed bylaw changes at the 23rd meeting. So we have up until the 23rd to discuss amongst ourselves any issues. But as of midnight tonight, no other proposals. If they don't come in by then, just, know that they cannot be voted on in this go around. You'll have to wait. Michael?
But just understand, if I want to submit something additional, I have to do it by midnight. If I want to comment on something that has been previously submitted, I don't have to make that comment by midnight tonight. That will do in the open meeting.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Peter?
Yeah, so could you clarify if, for example, I wanted to ask that we remove, so let me just understand, did you remove from our bylaws the 7-day notice provision? Or, okay, so is that would be removed by our action on the next meeting, is that right? So until then, I'm required okay. So I just say to my fellow commissioners, as people who are joining the Zoning Design and Development Committee will soon learn, the commission feels very strongly, certainly the previous commission felt very strongly, that it's standing committees that are advisory only to the commission, which means that the committees can't take action. They can't vote proposals. They can't, and so on. And so there's at least an argument that these are essentially discussion groups that are going to feed advice to the commission. The actor is the commission. And my hope is that we can get a bylaws and a ruling from whatever agency of the government there is that lets us have meetings more quickly. Because, for example, for the ZDZ, that would mean that the next time we could meet realistically at the earliest is the 17th, or about 5 days before our next meeting. And again, on the theory that we need to get going, I would really like to have some kind of meeting to at least organize ourselves in a little better way this week or over the weekend. To Lisa, if I were simply to, can I not do that under our current law rules?
No, you have to notice it.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll notice it tomorrow and it will be, okay, unfortunate.
Bruce and Peter Lynch.
Yeah, I appreciate the desire for flexibility and arranging meetings quickly, particularly given all the demands that we face. The one thing that I think we're all mindful of is a frequent comment from the community that they often don't have advance notice of actions, meetings, things that are happening on the commission. They hear about them after the fact. So we have to weigh our desire for flexibility with the community's interest in being notified and having ample opportunity to participate. Secondly, there are, of course, as you all know, provisions in the DC code concerning task forces, what they can do, what they can't do. So we're all mindful of those as we craft our bylaws.
Peter Lynch, then Peter Gosselin.
No, I'm out. I didn't mean.
Peter Lynch.
I think the link on the website is maybe off a bit for the draft. So I was just hoping to maybe get that in a Word document or a Google document on the website. Is that possible?
I don't want to put it in a Word or Google document. It should be a PDF. I mean, it's a link, because documents like that, we do not want adjusted by anyone in the community.
Sure. Well, hoping to just circulate that around. I wasn't able to open it.
It was circulated. So the commission got a Word version. Check your email on that you can add your comments to.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And Chair Gore, you've asked me to go ahead and redline my comments, which I will do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification for me, since again, I'm new to this, is the draft that we develop for the commissioner's review, once we've added our comments. Is there a draft of the proposed bylaws that does eventually get put out for public comment?
Yeah, so it'll, and depending on how quickly you can get me your red line,
Right. Yeah.
we can get that out put it on the website for public comment.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm working on is a public comment form for our website. So I would like to develop a actual page for testimony where the public can go in and select from a drawdown menu. I'm commenting on the draft bylaws, or I'm commenting on the surplus hearing resolution, and actually submit comments through us that way. Absent that, most of the public sends in comments through email to the entire commission or individual commission, or even the ANC email group, which is 3g@anc.dc.gov. But
Right.
yes, they'll be able to comment on it. And we try to get, and Peter kind of had, mentioned this in one of his emails. Our goal is we try to get anything that we want the public to be able to comment on up 7 days in advance. And it's very tough. I mean, you'll see when we're doing these resolutions, they can go back and forth just because there's so many commissioner comments that you're trying to, compile and, come up with the final document. It's really kind of tough, but with something with bylaws, we can definitely have that up there in advance.
Right. For the benefit of people who are tuned in and might have questions about the bylaws, what need to be in them and so forth. And the DC code that obviously establishes what need to be in the bylaws, but then DC code has lots of other material that bear on the ANCs. So as anyone in the public who's trying to understand how the ANC operates, what its purposes are and so forth, it's a bit of a challenge, to be frank about it, to understand that, because you have to wade through a lot of online material related to the ANCs and the DC code. So I'm sympathetic to members of the public who wonder about these things and sort of trying to understand what governs this process and what gets put into the bylaws. The DC code does specify what has to be in them.
Right. And that's a minimum of mandatory requirements.
Right.
There's other things that, the ANC has the option. And there's also, we follow Robert's Rules of Order. So if you go and look at Robert's Rules of Order, they also have suggested inclusions for the bylaws. So the DC code has the bare minimum. And that's something that we all have to be mindful of what, we have to have in there, what's required by code.
So again, just clarification for me. So the next meeting, when we propose to vote on these, we will have discussion then. Is that correct? Okay.
Yep, definitely. Okay. Any other questions on the bylaws? Okay. All right. We will move on to task force reports, and
We've
Peter,
talked enough about this.
you're good on yours? Okay. So really quickly on the Racial and Social Equity Standing Committee, my first discussion is 2023 nominees. Mine is very easy. The appointees are current committee members. They've asked for a reappointment for 2023. Pretty much everyone but one new member of the community that asked for appointment has been with race since it started. And most of them started with us on a task force on racism. So these are core members that have done the lion's share of all of our recommendations regarding racial and social equity. The new member that sought nomination is Marilee Jansen. Some of you all might be familiar with her work with Northwest Village, Neighbors Village. She has also attended race meetings, several meetings, so she had an opportunity to see the type of work that we've done. She's worked with and been to, outside events with members of the race group. I'm very excited to have her on board. She has a great connection also with our seniors. Race is also in that acronym, social equity. So it's racial and social equity. So I think, her work with our senior population is going to be just really great for the committee. So with that said, I move that we nominate for the 2023 term Elizabeth Martin, Cal Simone, Carl Lankowski, Maria Sims, Corinthia Simmons, Maurice Warner, Ron Eichner, Renee Inman, and Marilee Jansen. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
So how many people does that put on your committee, Lisa?
All those in favor, raise your hand.
I raised my hand, but how many people are on the committee then?
We have 10, 6-0, pass. 10. And we started out pretty big. I mean, I can tell you, race started out very big.
Can I just point out, Jerry still has his hand up. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if he knows how to, if he's just got it up by accident. Jerry, your hand is still raised. If you wanted to comment,
Yeah, okay. I don't want to distract us, but I noticed this. I took it down. Okay, it's gone. Yep.
Okay.
So Lisa, you had a lot of it. I'm just in my mind ruminating about the Peter committee, and you, on your committee, you had a lot of attrition.
Yes. Yes. So much so, and I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, that the group did want to establish attendance requirements. There's a lot of good lessons that came out of that committee, because we wanted core members that were going to do the work, which is what, Peter needs in his group. And sometimes we had members that would come in at opportune time, and the committee is very keen and very aware on that. So there's a lot of discussion about group dynamics in that committee. I think this year, the nominees are definitely the core committed folks that are dedicated, but we had a lot of folks on there, and sometimes it's, time commitment. Sometimes it was, if people were interested in one subject versus another. So you had a lot of folks kind of floating in and floating out, but over time, it definitely kind of whittled down to the core membership.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so in the meeting schedule for race, 2023 meeting schedule, our group meets on the third Wednesday of each month. So that's good to just keep in mind for other committees, so that we're not having committees meeting at the same time. And that those meeting dates are January the 18th, February 15th, March 15th, April 19th, May 17th, June 21, July 19th, and then August, obviously recess, September 20th, October 18th, November 15th, and December 20th. Those would be
ZDD will have to work this out once we meet.
Yeah. Cal, I thought it was Wednesday.
And these will get all posted on because our website is not up to date with all the meetings that we've been talking about. So we'll get those posted on the website.
Yeah. And if I'll go back and look at that if it is on the Tuesdays. September 20th, I looked at was on a Wednesday. I'll adjust it. I'll go back and adjust it, but the final ones will be posted on the website.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that our ANC meetings, the only one that's posted on our website, as I look at it, is today's meeting. There's no future meetings that I can find on it yet.
Yeah, so I'll post them now, that since we voted in the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out also how to actually do a calendar, because right now on our website, you have to click on the page and click. I would like to do an ANC calendar on the homepage, so that all of our committee meetings ANC meetings, administrative meetings are posted in one calendar for folks to see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it on race. And so moving on to commission business, Peter, do you want to go into?
This committee, the commission is being asked to vote on, majority of which weren't at the December 12th meeting as commissioners. I've distributed the draft minutes to both the prior commissioners and the current commissioners. I've received some edits from Connie, some from Randy, some from Lisa. I will take all of them. I move that with all of those, I ask you to approve the December 12th, 2022 minutes. Yeah. So a vote. Okay. And let me just say as an aside, I have agreed, I've talked to Jim Nash, and he's not going to be here either for this meeting nor for the 23rd. So I will continue to play this role through the 23rd, but I very much would like to pass it to him because it's a sort of Groundhog Day job. You get to have to watch the meeting again to do the video and then watch it a third time. And this has been so much fun that, I'm dying to do this 3 times. So I hope to get this off my plate. Anyways.
Zach, did you want to discuss the ANC debit card issue now?
Yeah, and before that, maybe I know John Higgins is on and he wanted to say something. This is our former treasurer, and many thanks to him for leaving the records and finances in such good shape and making a good transition. So I don't know if we could bring him on for what he had to share.
Yeah, I just promoted him.
John, you're promoted. We just need your audio video. Well, maybe we can come back. Oh, there he is.
No, John, you've got audio. John, turn on your camera. There you go.
Okay.
Hey, John.
Hi, Lisa.
Are you going to report on something?
Yeah, there were 4 items that are relevant to the transition. I sent a note to Zach on those. I guess it would be appropriate really for Zach to propose them. Have you got a copy of those at hand, Zach?
The 4 items you emailed me?
Yeah.
I think they're all on the agenda.
They're all on the agenda, John.
Yeah.
Okay, there's an invoice, which is, but there are 4 items. One is an invoice payment. Then there's the security enrollment, the quarterly report, and the debit card. And with all of those, especially the auditor, the quarterly report, and the debit card, we need to move approval of those tonight because they have to be recorded in the minutes. And then for each of those, the minutes have to be submitted along with the report. And we have till the end of the month to file these reports, but we should make sure we have the minutes to accompany them at the appropriate time. So I can't make a motion, but somebody can make a motion to approve all of these, or probably approve each of them individually.
Yeah, we can do one by one. We did the security fee, so that one's taken care of. We can do the Randy spec reimbursement's pretty straightforward. That's a Zoom expense for the ANC, what we're using right now. That was $222.58. So unless we want to discuss further, move to authorize the new treasurer to pay Randy spec that reimbursement.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, 6-0, that passes.
Great. And then the next we've got, I think the debit card is actually probably easier, so we'll start. Starting this month, ANCs can now try to obtain a debit card from their bank. And actually, disclosure, we bank at PNC, which was before us tonight. But the rules require that we take a vote at a meeting like this and that we agree to comply with the ANC guidelines for using a debit card, which I emailed around. It's on the most recent ANC newsletter on page 3, very sensible rules, precautions for using a debit card. So the idea is with this approval at this meeting, when we go to the bank, we could ask them about getting a debit card for things like Zoom, so we can pay directly instead of reimbursing a commissioner to kind of modernize our operations. Yeah, Peter.
Just be sure, given what John said, and that it's important that this be just so in the minutes, be sure one of you gives me the exact wording you want, so I get it the way you want it in the minutes, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so you need a second for that? I mean, have you?
Yeah, I moved to approve us to get the debit card in compliance with ANC's guidelines on debit cards.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, pass 6-0.
And I believe the last matter is our quarterly financial report. This is for fiscal year 23, quarter 1, which just ended December 31st. So this was the prior commissions. Many thanks to John for helping, preparing this, and he was treasurer this quarter. We started with a balance of about 35,000. We had income from the district, an allotment of about 10,000. That brings us to about $45,000. There was about $1,800 of communication expenses. That leaves us with a current balance. The exact number is $43,983.40. So we need to file this, as John said. So we would have a vote, unless we want to discuss it further about the figures or anything about it. I would move to vote to approve to send this to the OANC.
Second.
John has his hand raised. John?
Yeah. Just a footnote there. I had this all prepared around just almost near Christmas, and I was going back on the ONC website, and we got an allotment I didn't anticipate from the district, and the amount was about $5,400, which was $700 more than what had been going on for the past 2 years. So the government gave us a raise. In this quarter we got 2 payments from the district, which amounted to over $10,000 in income. One little thing, we have a few little things, pieces of documents to file with this. Lisa, if you haven't cashed already, you can cash your MailChimp check.
Okay.
So that gets through. And there are a couple of things, and the minutes, of course, we'll have to have. And I think that does it. And Zach, I posted some of the other things we were talking about today to the ONC portal.
Great. But
we need to get, I'd like to go to the bank with you guys when you go for the security payment. Because there's a couple of things you need to do there. And currently my own PNC Bank online is linked also as my accounts, with also a link to the ANC account, which was very convenient. But I want to make sure that by February 1st, I'm delinked from that and that Zach is on. So I think there are a couple of things we need to tidy up with a session at the bank. So if we can arrange that as soon as possible, that would be great.
Okay.
And could I just say, to repeat something that John Higgins has said, so for the new commissioners, we don't normally walk around with $43,000 in our pockets. This turns out to be a windfall because we had no administrative help last year. And so, I mean, John, you can explain it better, but I mean, this is not, we don't usually keep a balance that big. So,
no, I have mentioned to the commission to be prudent about this money, because it is a one shot. However you spend the money, whether you spend it on a contract person or you spend it on a part-time employee, you're going to be spending it, and so you're not going to have this kind of a rollover every single year. So that's a resource that's there, which I mean, you know, with all the talk tonight about improving the website, improving communications, you just can't do that all by ourselves. We're going to need help, and that help is going to cost money.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of pursuing the ANC debit card, raise your hand.
We done? Is that what we're voting on? I thought we were voting on the quarterly report.
Oh.
I think,
no.
I think we already passed the debit card thing. Yeah, okay, we're close now, Jen.
Hour 3.
So we're voting on the quarterly report.
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
second.
All those, yeah, any more discussion on that? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, 6-0. All right. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John.
Happy New Year, John.
Thank you. See you guys later.
All right. Okay, and the last thing on the agenda is update on administrative staff. So Jim Nash had a recommended person that he has talked to that could possibly do administrative work for us. We can discuss it more at our administrative meeting that hopefully we'll have really soon, but at least we have at least one candidate that we could look at. I've also reached back out to Office of ANC to see if they had gotten any more details for us on the intern that they had sent out, the email regarding interns and ANCs being possibly able to use interns for administrative help. So I have not heard back from them yet, but we do have a position description. And I think we're going to have to, you know, at our admin meeting, we're going to have to discuss rate of pay to get someone, you know, that can do good quality work for us. So that is pretty much where we are on that. Peter Lynch, you had a question, and then Peter Gosselin.
No, I was just going to say I have a contact too that was interested in the role. So
Okay.
looking up for information on that. I'll try to connect everybody up pretty soon.
Great, thank you. Peter Gosselin.
What I was going to say is that in addition to spending on an administrative assistant or some sort of administrative help, I think we're going to have to spend on technology, presuming that there's not another winter wave of COVID. We've got to get back to in person. And as I've just experienced trying to set up the meeting yesterday, we said we were going to do it in the community center. And then we discovered that we just couldn't rent the stuff to let us do it hybrid. And then people freaked out because a lot of people didn't want to come. So we are going to have to do hybrid meetings, and they're really complicated, particularly in the community center because the acoustics are so awful. So we're going to have to get something that allows us to have directional mics and maybe sound baffling of some sort. And the stuff exists. People are doing hybrid meetings. We just have not gotten there, but that's going to cost money too.
Bruce? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Is there an existing position description for the administrative staff person? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something that maybe you've already circulated and I just missed it?
hadn't.
You haven't? Okay.
Yeah. I'll circulate it for
Yeah.
the admin meeting, and then we
Okay.
can
Okay.
chime in on it.
But just so you know, Bruce, this has been something that's been underway. We've been looking for an admin for a year,
It's maybe longer than that.
maybe longer than that, July of 21. So it hasn't.
No, I'm totally in favor of it. I'm just interested in what the position description looks like. I have no objection to proceeding.
Yeah. And we've also, you know, partnered with a couple ANCs in 3 to do joint solicitations. So it's just tough. It's tough. Okay, so possible items for next meeting, Murray Project and Task Force update, discussion and possible vote on 2023 bylaws, possible vote and discussion on the historic designation of PNC. I think Jim Nash, I don't know if he's going to be here, wanted to talk about the DDOT Community Advisory Committee. And Peter what did you have today? Do we need anything else you had today that needed a resolution? Was it just the historic district? Seemed like there was something else. Oh, surplus hearing.
Yeah,
Surplus hearing resolution.
yeah, boy, that's gonna be, we can't, well, we may have to have a special meeting for that. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we do need to kind of think about how we want to handle that, because I do think, I was thinking today we probably need a special meeting for that.
yeah.
I know.
So folks, just look at your calendars here. I mean, we're talking 3 more meetings this week. If we meet with DemPed, and MLK Day, so 4-day week next week. And it's gotta be the ZDD, it's gotta meet then, so gonna be tight for this next month.
Peter Lynch?
I know we have been talking about and thinking about holding administrative meetings prior to the community meetings, and I wonder where that stood or how people think about that going
So
forward.
I sent the email around asking for everyone to send me their best days. I still have not gotten all responses. My suggestion was to hold a admin meeting before the 23rd. So that's where we are. If everyone could just send me your best days, I think I got 2 commissioners.
Can you resend Lisa, can you resend that email, please?
Yeah. And then we can get on schedule. And again, remember, we have to announce 7 days in advance, so.
Hey, can I ask one
Thank you,
question
Lisa.
before we go? Can I ask a Mocher question?
Yeah.
We had Mokers that said they're Ward 3 Mokers, but you and I, Lisa, are Ward 4. And I worked with Amir simply because he was the best, even though he was Ward 3, and I never even knew who the Ward 4
Yep.
Mocher was.
Yep.
Now, these 2 that presented, they both said they were Ward 3
Ward 3, yeah.
Mokers. So is it possible to invite the Ward 4 Mocher so we can learn who that person is?
And I will give you, well, I've talked to the Mocher staff and our DDOT reps. And I can tell you what they told me is that they leave it all to the Ward 3 staff.
Okay.
That the Ward 3 staff basically covered this, and the Ward 4 staff cover what I would say maybe,
East of the
traditional-
park.
East of the park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And-
if we,
But we can invite them because maybe that'll be different this year, but
yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking also, besides the, the potholes and broken sidewalks and stuff, if we have another issue like the military road school, sure it'd be nice to know who the Mocher is
I agree.
in Ward 4, but I had no success last year.
None.
So Matthew Barkley is going to try to cover off Ward 3 and 4,
Yep.
west of the park.
Yep. And that, so for Bruce, that's something for you, just as by way of background. Oh, thank you, Matthew. Is that it was just tough to get the Ward 4 representatives, whether it was the Mocher staff or DDOT staff, to deal with this ANC. They pretty much left it up to the Ward 3 DDOT reps and Mochers to cover. And I think, part of the conversation I had is just, there's so much more volume on the 4 side that, they just, that's the way it was. So I would encourage everyone, if we can, get them active and involved here, great. But get to know the Ward 3 Mocher staff really well, because they've always answered regardless of what ward we fell into.
Yeah.
How did you understand the the role of Barbara Rogers, who was with us tonight from Janice Lewis George's office? She in the in the chat box identified herself as the new director of community engagement.
Yeah.
For Councilmember Lewis George. I noted her email and phone number, and I thought I would be in touch with her because of course, we're here in Ward 4 as well.
Definitely. Yep. And yeah, they're definitely, her staff has been great in working with, the Ward 4 commissioners here. They'll definitely get involved in whatever issues we need them to be involved with. Hopefully they attend the meetings regularly. That was something that I, asked for improvement from last year. And sometimes, the council member staff kind of wane in and wane out, but generally Ward 3 council member staff is always there. So I'm hoping we'll do that, get that same from 4, but they are always supportive of the issues that we have here. So
to Bruce, sorry, to Bruce's question though, then is Barbara additional to Will Perkins, or is because Will was sort of constituent services for Janice. So I don't know what the difference between community engagement and constituent services is.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because you're right. Will is like our go-to guy.
Yeah.
Maybe
Which would be nice to know. It would sort of be nice to know
who's our point
it's
person.
best when you have a single point of
Exactly.
contact within the council member's office.
Yeah.
Well, it's curious just to observe that she found her way to our meeting tonight, which is encouraging.
Definitely.
She took it upon herself. She took it upon herself to be here.
Yeah.
She, again, identifies herself as the new director. That means that the position is new or she's new in that position. Either way, I've got her email and her phone number. I'm going to be in touch with her just to say hi.
Yeah. And I think she's definitely new to the staff. I don't recall her being there last year. I think she's new. I don't know if that position is new.
Yeah, I think she said today was her first day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's brand new.
Okay.
She's left her personal cell number. She has yet to get her work cell. She says she'll get it tomorrow. So she's she's new on the job.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay, so Matthew, if you're still listening, it's okay that we're going to call you on our west of the park Ward 4 issues as we did Amir.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Preserve that answer, Lisa Gore.
I'll save it in the chat.
Yeah, please.
Okay, everyone, I'm gonna call us adjourned. It's 10:06. Thank you, everyone. New commissioners, awesome job. Great first meeting, and we beat the last year's first meeting by over an hour and a half. I think we didn't wrap up until over 11 p.m. So
let's keep going. Let's do
No.
Hey, Goslin, good luck on your surgery tomorrow.
Yes, good luck.